What is happening, people? Let me get this adjusted just a little bit. I'm gonna sit today. What's happening, everybody? I have been on my feet all day long. I'm getting, like, tired. Been out of shape. What's going on? Ray Silver, do I plan on carrying Arena Rex? We can, yes. They have come forward and said that they'd be okay with us stocking the starter sets for everything, but not the full store worth of stuff. So we're talking with them on that. I haven't really put that out to you guys yet. We're kind of waiting to see how the Bushido starter sets sell after Sunday. So we'll see. He likes the music. Yeah, you can always send me an email and let me know what you want, and then I can definitely get it in for you even before we start doing like full stock on the store. Remember, you guys can always order your miniatures through us. It'll just take us a little bit longer to get them if we don't have stuff like that in stock, but we can get just about anything. Ugly, what's happening? Maui Blood, what's going on? Kev Rob, what's happening? I see you guys out there. It is Wednesday. What is happening, everybody? What are we doing? We're procrastinating. We're procrastinating now. About to get going. About to do our thing. Drink some water. Paint some stuffs. Apophis, what's happening? How's everybody doing? How is the middle of the week treating you? I have been on the go, complete gas. It seems like every day for months now. And today is just one where it's like, oh, can we just take a nap? Can we just have this be like the slow fuse nap stream? I'll teach you guys how to take naps. Day 2 of the Long War Painting Staycation, Maui Blood. I love to hear it, man. That's awesome. You think you need to highlight the left leg of your Buzimbo a bit better? You may have treated it like it was... in shade. When you say left, you mean right? His right? Because his right leg will be a little bit brighter than this one because of the positioning. Right? But don't worry about that too much. You know, I mean, we talk about the fact that you don't want to focus so heavily on any one section of a model until you have color on the sections next to it as well, so that you're not... Because right now you're going to have a hard time. It's all sitting next to black. So trying to determine your final values on the legs and the arms and everything is a little bit tougher, right? Kalini, what's going on? Good to see you. Right? It's always going to be a little bit tougher at these early stages of a model to determine, okay, am I bright enough? Am I too dark? Am I too bright? Because you're judging it against black primer, right? And so it's really difficult to see. All we want to do is start seeing the shadows where we know shadows need to be, smooth blends in and out of the shadows, up to the highlights that we have. And then we stop and we go paint the other things, and then we come back and we do final highlights on everything towards the end. Right. Houdini, we can start now. How about now? Is now okay? What if we were to start, say, now? Is that all right? Oh, hang on. See if I can get my chair a little bit closer. Too soon? How about now? Bastage. You bastage. So yeah, we're going to start the day off where we left off yesterday. If you're just tuning in, it is the Bushido Paint-along week, and we are doing Buzimbo from the Tengu clan. The Tengu Dissension is what the starter pack is called, because they're coming down off the mountain to take part in the war for the first time in a long time. So shit must be getting real if the birds are coming to fight. So we set him up yesterday. We did a deep blue. If you remember, we did a deep blue base coat for our shade layer. Very thin over our black primer. Over that, we then did Viking blue, right, to give it a nice kind of electric kind of blue feel. And you can see that poking through on the knees, the highlights on the folds, things like that. Then we went back and disturbed all that and did a little bit of hue shift with the purple and pulled the shadows down into kind of a purplish tone. And then over that, we went in and went back to blue with our troglodyte blue. And that troglodyte blue is now bringing about the upper level highlights, what will be the upper level highlights. And all we've really focused on so far are the legs. And we will be working more on the upper torso right now. That's how we're going to kick the day off. So let's dive right in. Let's dive right in. Is there a naked puzzle basement in here? What? Say what? Are you pulling him out of lurk? Back of the left leg. Gotcha. Has anybody harassed me about brushes yet today? No. I kind of expect it, though. I love you guys. I'll let you harass me. We haven't heard anything, though. I don't have any good or better, different news than normal. So, there's that. There is that. All right, so I am going to start in with the Trog Blue right across the top of these folds. Arm. All right, just getting some light highlighting going on. These are the brightest parts of his blue armor right here across the top of the arm. So I'll layer a little bit on the middle of that panel. And remember what we said, we don't want any of the shadows up here, especially on the top, like towards the light. We don't want any of these shadows to get too dark. I'm going to layer in just a little bit into that dip in between the folds so it doesn't drop drastically off into, like, you know, our purple blue. Backside, same thing. Kind of pull these folds in the material first. I like that. Now, because this backside panel starts rolling off into shadow, I want to just kind of bring my brush from the low side towards the wing back towards the seam in the front, bringing my brighter paint with me. So, that way I can create that brightness on the panel, but if you're looking, it will, as you look into the back of his arm, you'll see it kind of fade off into shadow back there. Bit more layering on this top. Turn the model so that, again, I can be pulling my brighter paint towards the seam, being careful not to get the paint into the seam. Folds on the forearm there, start picking those out. There's another seam here, so be careful if you're painting along at home. Be real sharp right in here, because you'll see there's a seam right there between the forearm plate and the actual armor, the padded armor. So we're going to have to get a little bit of a highlight in there. Separate it out and keep that seam in the padded armor like that. So again, just working very, very thin, taking your time. Here on the cuffs, we want to brighten towards the front of the cuff and leave it a little darker as it dips back down towards this band, this leather band. Again here. High spot on the cuff, and then just kind of feather it. The nice thing, working thin like I do, right, is that you basically put like 4, 5, 6 strokes across the top there, and you get kind of a line highlight, and then you just take one stroke and take it down into the darker blue. 1 or 2 strokes down into the darker blue, and that gives you that fade. Right, so that's how you get that blend without looking like we've done line highlights anywhere. So it doesn't look like we're just edge highlighting anything at this point, and that's the key for fabric especially. Okay. Pretty bright compared to what we've got going on down on the knee. Right, you can kind of get a good look at the brightness here versus down here. That's a good relation. Like I said, as we do more completion on the model, we will obviously push and pull our highlights and shadows around. So don't spend too much time worrying about it right now. Just use it as a quick judging. So you can say, okay, yeah, I feel like the lower body is a little bit darker, and that'll help you get your value kind of set correctly up here. Pull a little bit into this area right along the seam of what is the upper arm as it's in this bent area. Not too much. That one is almost like a line highlight, right? Because I want some shadow in between there. A little bit right here that needs some highlight. Feather a little bit down in that. Brighten that little patch up just a little bit. Real Ashman, what's going on? Dathar, what's happening? Sinus clearing powers of the brush soap. What are you talking about, Ray? That doesn't mean anything to me. Were you snorting it? Because you don't snort soap. I saw you write that, and I'm like, I just put a smiley face. I'm like, what are you even talking about? Are you allergic to it? Don't eat it or drink it. So we build up some highlight on that elbow. Right there. Just a little bit in that section in between, right? I don't want to get too much, so I'm just kind of stippling right on that front edge. I want to keep the shadow around that spot. I mean, that's only a few millimeters, but that's the kind of attention to detail you need to make sure that you can get all of the shading the way you want it, right? Just kind of poke a little bit in there. Do like one layer down here, right? We want brighter on the top of the elbow, lighter down here. So just like maybe 1 swipe or 2 swipes of the brush there, and then more up top. And here, just a little bit on this bottom part of the cuff. Same thing under here. I'm just going to give a little bit of highlight along the seam between the pads and the armor. I'm running out of paint on the brush, and that's the best time to do these bottom sides, right? Where I don't want them really bright. Like right here, I just want a little bit of color. Either side of that seam right there. Again, this is the kind of the darker area of the armor, so we don't want to push too much highlight in there. A little bit there. ever so slightly along these seams down underneath the arm. Don't make it look like an edge highlight, just literally barely stroking the brush across there to get just a little bit of variation. And we'll come back and work on that as we get more color on the areas around it. We may have to push these shadows a little bit deeper. All that'll become apparent as we start seeing what our reds are doing, our browns are doing, everything else. But the goal is to keep all of your brightness up top and just drag a little bit of the blue down below so that you can tell that it doesn't change color, that it's not like half purple, half blue. A little bit of edging as it goes underneath. Remember, it's not a hard surface, so we don't want to highlight too much of the edges. We just kind of want to blend blue in there as we go. Got some on your nose and it cleared your sinuses up quick? You're lying. What are you talking about? It doesn't even smell, hardly. Did you have some, I mean, did you literally have like an allergic reaction to it or something? That's not good. It's supposed to be completely hypoallergenic. Over to this other arm. Don't go having any like anaphylactic shock moments with our soap. Please. Please. And again, just a little bit of highlight along the seam on the bottom part of the forearm, but very loose brush strokes. So to not brush it up or brighten it up too much. I want to get a little bit brighter right in here. Nothing here, very, very lightly. Pick out the tops of these folds, even up underneath. Again, just enough to put a little bit of color on here. You're really being like, this is one of those pucker up, barely put any paint on here at all. This is where you need to practice having a light hand in order to get this to do exactly what I'm showing you. Right? Ever so slightly lightening up the tops of those folds, but blending as you go. So it has to be a very light brush stroke so you don't just get a hard line. You don't want it to be a shock of highlight on the top of a fold. There's no reason for that. There's no corners, there's no hard surface here. Right? That sets up the shadow, doesn't overtake our purple, but lets the blue kind of bleed back into it a little bit. We turn and try to focus up here on the top. Again, we're using our troglodyte blue. Very, very thin, as you can see it going on my skin. And a very, very light touch with the brush. Remember, as you paint, one of the things to get a real good recognition of is how paint comes off of your brush. Right? We spend a lot of time figuring out how to load our brush off the palette, getting enough paint, unloading your brush on maybe your thumb like I do or something like that, so you can make sure you're not headed over to the model with too much water or paint so it'll puddle and pool. But another thing to pay close attention to, and that will really, really help your work, is recognizing how paint comes off. How thick is the line coming off of the end of the brush, paint-wise, like in width of paint, if you press hard? And what is the shape of that line? Versus what happens if I do the same area, the same length, same amount of paint on the brush, but, you know, what if I do that very light? You know, just barely touching the model. and then, you know, focus on practicing those and recognize when they have their usefulness. Sometimes it makes sense to kind of slap paint on the model with a little heavier hand. You get more texture that way. You get more paint, so it becomes a little bit more opaque quickly when you do that. I make sure that I'm as bright on this side as I was on the other. So constantly looking at the right arm as I try to balance it here with this left. Pretty good. Pads on the cuff again, making sure that I'm brighter on the top one and just a little bit on that bottom one. These areas under here, I'm literally just clinching up and going in and getting just a little bit of highlight on the side of the seam. What we've been calling the seam there on this padded armor. I don't want too much highlight down there. I don't want it to overtake my purples. I don't want it to make that area bright. I just want that little bit of highlight on the side of the seam. But I also don't want it to look like I just pulled a line highlight. So I feather it a little bit. Sometimes you have to turn the model and get your brush stroke going perpendicular to the seam. Just make sure you don't pull too much paint on there. Again, too bright along those lines start making it look like something other than fabric. You start making it feel like it's plastic or a hard surface of some sort. And that's what you always have to be careful of. Right. Pretty good. I realize I didn't put any of the light blue on this section, like coming across the chest. I missed some sections down low in the armpit altogether, which is fine, right? There's this pad, this part of the pad that's at the very bottom of the arm that's literally all purple right now. And that's fine. That's our darkest shadow. So I'm going to leave that be for now and until we start moving into some of the other colors. And as we get closer and get more color on the rest of the model, then some of that will start to come alive. And we can tell, okay, maybe our purples are too dark, so we'll have to glaze a little blue over it. Or I feel like we're good right now. And from judging from everybody's pictures that I saw yesterday, I feel like you guys were comfortable with the purple. You were going on very thin. It wasn't just jumping out and being, oh my God, purple. That's not what we're looking for, right? We just want it to be a little bit of a hue shift on the model so that as we're painting, we're not just looking at electric blue. It has a little bit of a difference to it, which might mean that, you know, it could be sweaty and the sweat stains discolored it, or it could just be, you know, crazy shadowing, whatever. You tell your own story, but you want a little bit of hue differentiation so it's not just a triad of blues. Those get to be boring. Just a very potent smell. Wow. Like, I can't hardly smell it, so. What's going on, Mathis? What's happening, Ebb and Flow? Wrath of Taz, what's going on? Boshek, holy hell, what's going on, man? Richard, what's going on? All right. All right. I feel like we're pretty good here. Oh, I need a little bit of highlight on this elbow, this little bitty piece of elbow back here. Right, we've got right here, again, I just want to stipple a little bit of bright blue at the point of the elbow, right in here. Not too much. Just so that as you're looking at it, if you can visualize looking at the model and you can see the top of the arm and you can see any part of that elbow, then part of that elbow is going to at least have the same kind of brightness and highlight as the top of the arm. Unless there's something creating a tremendous amount of shade on it, which we don't really have anything here. that looks like it would be generating a ton of darkness. More brightness right there. Got a little bit of blue poking in between the hair right here. So again, I'm just stippling. I'm just kind of poking the brush in there to get a couple of drops of this bright blue paint right along in these open areas. Not too much. Right here. Bingo. Pull those two little dot areas, one right there, one right there. Just pull those out a little bit because the hair goes around it rather than have to come back after we painted the hair. Catching it now helps us a little bit. A little bit. All right. Dunzos. Give you guys a sec while I look at chat to finish that up. Hopefully you guys are getting close if you didn't already finish last night. Wrath of Taz having a bad day. What? First drank from your paint water cup and then filled your vape mod with Vallejo chipping medium. Say what? That sounds like the kind of mistakes I make. I feel like you shouldn't be making those mistakes, right? I spent all morning taking wood off of sprue, basically, for all of the paint racks, and shrink wrapping, and packaging, and boxing, and I got done, I packed up every single paint rack order. We have lots, right? You guys are awesome. And everybody that ordered paint racks, they didn't make it out today. They're all packed up. They all have the labels printed, and we'll get to the post tomorrow, so they'll be on the way. You guys should hopefully have them. If not by the weekend, then by Monday. So thank you so much for ordering. If you ordered from Canada, it'll probably be a little bit later than that. But all of the paint racks are going to go out. And but I boxed them all up. And like literally I got the last box taped and looked over. It was one of those where I'm like, okay, that was awesome. And I just happened to see out of the corner of my eye. And I look over and there's all the instructions. And I'm thinking to myself, so I'm pretty sure I was supposed to put instructions in the box so that people know how to build them. So I had to cut everybody's box back open. Look at everybody's orders again. Remember what everybody had and give you the right instructions. Because we don't, like, not every rack comes with a set of instructions. I only put instructions in the box for the racks that you buy. And yeah, so that happened. So that's great. See, that's the kind of mistakes I make. It's a good thing I don't vape or I don't drink my paint water. Keep your paint water in like a thing that you know you're not going to go drink out of. Like, see, you don't mistake this for being edible. It just doesn't happen. It's just not a thing, right? Ray, we will have a YouTube video as well, but everybody gets printed full color instructions. It's just like we have people that order 8 dropper bottle racks. So if you get 8 dropper racks, you don't need 8 instruction sheets. So we did them full color, easier to read and see, and we just dropped, like, if you buy 5 droppers, 4 shelves, a brush rack, and a couple of the shelf inserts, you're literally only get 4 pieces of instructions, 1 for each type of rack that you bought. It's just easier for us. Right? Plus, it keeps our costs low. We are always trying to be efficient with all of that so that we can keep the end cost a little bit lower. I hate charging more for what may not seem like silly stuff, but at the end of the day, it's kind of silly stuff. What if you got 8 racks for 8 people for Christmas, Big Bob? Well, then you'll have to go print the PDF off of the web. That stuff is on the website. Or I can email it to you or something. I didn't think about that. That's a good point. I'm trying to be efficient, and you're like, wait a minute. I'm giving all of those away. Ray, if you order another rack, you can just type in the notes field. You don't need instructions. But it's not that big a deal. Like, every order gets instructions. It's just... Yeah, Maui Blood. That's a problem. They're like $80. Or 80 bucks. They're like 80 cents, right? 70 to 80 cents a page for instructions on heavyweight paper so they don't get destroyed, and like if the box gets messed up or stuff shifts in transit, the instructions don't get messed up, and full color and all that. Drago, even cheap Xerox paper color is 60-something cents. 62 cents for color copies, I think. I can order them and have them done off-site and mailed to us, and then I pay much less. For this first run, we didn't do that because we're still in the middle of like going through and finding out are people did the instructions work for everybody, how easy were they to understand. I'll get more feedback. A bunch of you that got the initial pre-order stuff back when we did the first round of racks, if you remember, before they got on the site and everything. The people that got those gave me really good feedback on, hey, it was great, but I didn't know the left side from the right side. Could you make that easier to see? And da-da-da, because it's very important making sure that your left side and your right side are correct. So now we label them. We go in and write on there, on the bottom, on the what we call the heel of the side, an L and an R, and we call that out in the instructions. And the instructions are now more words, which I hate, but I figure that is easier for people over the long term. But I don't want to order 1,000 of them. 1,000 instruction sheets, or even 100 instruction sheets if I got to redo them, because it's hundreds of dollars for instructions every time we do it. You cause enough grief on stream, Ray. I appreciate the thought, but that's not grief. The grief was me being stupid. The grief is not the fact that people need instructions. the grief is me being so stupid I forgot they needed instructions until all their boxes were packed up, like taped up and ready to go. How about hiring kids to draw crayon instructions, Big Bob? I have Jen. Does that not count? No, I understood what you were meaning, Drago. I think. Like if you ordered 8 to give them out to different people, you would need 8 instructions. If you do something like that, just order it that way. I mean, we probably ought to, I guess, just give out instructions for everything. Damn. Where were my supervisors during all this, Kevrov? Asleep on the floor. Bella is our certified supervisor, and she's horrible at it. You'd think she got paid by the hour for how she works. Good thing Jen doesn't get feedback from the stream, like, ever. Cats make great supervisors. I think the dogs are okay. The cats just get in the way. All right, next color. Let's do some other stuffs. Wolf Gray. Guys, we're going to be doing the hair and the skin. All right, so Wolf Gray is our starting point here. And we're going to start working on hair, skin, and then we're going to move into reds. Don't you know, don't you know? Drago, I get that you love cats. If cats didn't need litter boxes and didn't actually crap in the house and not flush it, then I'd be okay. The fact that they want to poop and pee in my house and then walk on and then step on it and then walk on my countertops it's not okay. If anybody or anything else in the world did that, it would not live. And yet, for some reason, we let cats live, right? I saw the deal where it's like, hey, the people with cats, they think their houses are clean. And they went through with, like, all the testing equipment, and their kitchen countertops had more germs and crap on them than, like, a family of 5. It was like one person with a cat had more crap on the places you don't need to have crap than a family of 5 with no pets did. That pretty much sold it for me. I'm like, yep, no cats. Sorry. I'm not a germaphobe, but I'm a dirty boy. So I don't need help trying to kill myself with, like, parasitic nonsense in the house. I know my limitations, man. I know my limitations. My life, and if I want to poop on the counter, I will. You're not my real dad. Oh, they don't poop on the counter. They just walk through it first. Ugh, disgusting. I love cats, though. That's the shame. I really do like cats. I really wanted a good tomcat at my shop in Colorado. And that just never happened. I wanted like a half a one-ear fighting cat you know, that would just hang out in the shop and didn't want to have anything to do with me except maybe once a month where it would come rub up against you, and then if you try to pet it, he'd growl at you and run away. A mouser kind of thing. That's kind of what I wanted. Here I'm just literally, we're just covering all of it, right? Just cover all the things, all the hair. Thin, thin, thin. Let that black peek through and make this wolf gray darker. So one clean coat. Don't layer it up too much on your first pass. Don't worry about brightness, just worry about coverage right now. Make sure there aren't any areas where you get too much black peeking through.
Well, huzzah, huzzah! I'll just throw back my legs and pollute my britches with delight.
Pollute my britches with delight. Ripley RC, what's going on? Twitch Prime sub being used. Thank you, my friend. That is 16 out of 20. 4 more new subs. We might get hit that today. We get 4 more new subs, we do a giveaway. Some lucky viewer will wind up getting a gift certificate over to the store, slowfusegaming.com. Be used at your leisure. Oh my God, I forgot to send Telemachus out. Oh, I'm such a crappy person. Telemachus won a gift certificate last night. Got to send it to him. Don't tell him. If Telemachus shows up, tell him it's okay. Tell him everything's fine. The world is good. If your gift certificate's not in your email, it means that you were bad this year, and yeah, the email gods didn't want you to have your gift certificate or something. Question mark. Feel like that's fair? As long as your novelty items arrive on time, you bastage. I told you, we don't have the novelty items. We're bad people. We talk about things like that, and then they never happen.
$5 to the cause, and maybe it'll make you feel better.
I literally tell Jen all the time, right? $6.66 from Next Level Painting. Are you kidding me? Kenny, dropping the number of the beast right here, live.
Beast mode.
It ain't Friday.
Is it Friday yet?
What is going on, Big Sexy? Kenny Boucher, people, if you are not familiar with the man, you need to be. He's worth his weight in something. Maybe not gold, but I figure maybe Cheetos. I figure Kenny is definitely worth his weight in Cheetos. And that's saying something, right? That's a valuable man right there. Boy, here's got a lot of hair. Not gonna lie. I've never seen a bird with quite an extensive do as this guy. Long, luscious locks. It's not Raj, what's going on? Salt? You're worth your weight in salt? No, I think you're worth your weight in Cheetos. I like Cheetos. I like turtle. Telemachus? That ain't his name. What are you talking about? You can train cats to use the toilet. Do yours? I don't think so. I don't think so. Everybody always tells me, but you can train your cats to use the toilet because there's a video on the internet of it, but nobody's cats are trained to use the toilet. KTP, what's happening? Maui Blood, glad you're digging them. I love the Army Painter paints. They are not too shabby, right? We're currently using Wolf Gray from the aforementioned Army Painter, as Maui Blood alluded to. We're just lightly going in and covering this hair. We want thin coat so that our black primer allows the wolf gray to set into those shadows and remain a little bit darker than normal. Like I said, you're just looking for an even coat right now. Don't worry about brightness and darkness as far as like overall value. Notice how I'm not layering up anywhere. I just want to make sure I get the color where I want the color. And then I get a fairly smooth coat. I'm not worried about too much of my black biting through at any given point. I'm not looking for cloudy paint, obviously. Good smooth overall coverage of wolf gray. We're going for kind of a, you know, like a white for his hair. And then almost the same color for the skin. But on the skin, I think we'll have it be, maybe we'll have the hair be a little bit more blue and the skin be more in towards the white. Haven't really figured that out yet. We'll play with it and see. Like that's not the easiest hair in the world to paint, the one that goes underneath the beak. Make that easy. So we get covered on the back of all these flaps of hair down low. Right in here. How many times am I going to say me and my silly leave the wings on while we paint? I feel like I've said that a lot already. I feel like I'm probably going to keep saying that a lot. I could guess that that's going to be a thing. I wonder how easy this model comes out of the mold, because that hair is a pain in the ass. I can't imagine. Good on him. He's got chops when it comes to mold making. I feel like this guy's a beast to get out of the mold just because of the way that hair flicks around on the back. A lot of undercuts. Great sculpts. Hope you guys are liking the detail on this as much as I do. One of the things we do when choosing the models that we want to paint for the paint-alongs, and hell, just choosing the models we want to paint in general, right? It's all about cool factor. I rarely pick models just because of how their profile is in a game. Every now and then, but rarely. And I would probably say that in games like Infinity, when I pick a troop profile because of its power in the game, it's also probably a pretty good model, just because Infinity. There's only a couple of like purpose-built units I would think that I have. Guangxu from Yujing would be one of those. because I don't really care about the model so much. It's a very basic trooper profile model, but it's a great model on the table, and you got to have them. So, but not one that goes for cool factor. But these, oh my God, I think every one of the Bushido models could be said to have been bought just for cool factor, to be honest with you. The entire line is great. I like the Crime Syndicate guys, the Silver Moon Crime Syndicate. They've got like the sumo wrestler style looking dudes with the tattoos, like the underground gangster kind of guys. Such good stuff there. Then you got stuff like the Tengu that look very otherworldly because giant birds and all. The Ito clan that Mike is painting up. You got guys that look like shape-shifting snake men. Nothing wrong with that. Notice how I'm painting the hair first before I go on to the skin, even though in our case it's going to be the same base color. I just want to get a feel for the dimension of the hair as I'm going. I typically do this rather than, you know, if the skin and the hair are going to be based in the same color for other models that you're doing, sometimes we'll just go through and hit it all at the same time. But for me, I like to focus on painting just the thing that I'm focused on at any given time. So in this case, hair. Does that make sense? As opposed to hair and skin. If I paint both, even though I know they're going to be the same base coat color, it may seem for efficiency that's a good idea. And it is, right? There's nothing wrong with doing it that way. I just prefer doing it like this, where I paint the hair so that I get a really good feel for the dimension of the hair. And by that I mean, like, okay, how does the hair lay on the model, right? This is, as I'm going and painting, I'm getting a feel for the shape of it. I'm getting a feel for how it sits next to the other parts of the model, for highlighting, planning out what I'm going to do next, all of that kind of stuff. And so I find that kind of gives me a little bit different peace of mind long term than just going in and glopping it over everything that I know I'm going to need wolf gray. That may sound silly, but you may want to try that from time to time. I do these things that I find make it a little bit easier for your brain to wrap around all of the process that you're going to do to finish a model. Now you can see almost immediately why we chose to go into the purples on our blue armor. Notice how with our purple shadows, that's something that's helping the kind of bluish gray of wolf gray still stand out as a hair color. As opposed to if that wolf gray were just sitting next to those bright blues, it starts to drag itself into that same tone very quickly and get very flat and one-dimensional. So, and you'll see the same thing as we move into the reds. Having that purple on the blue as it sits next to a dark red will help it kind of become part of the model a little better. Big Bob, your cat plays fetch? I feel like that's a thing. Your wolf gray is Vallejo and seems brighter than that, Ray. Blah, 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 blah. Because from Vallejo, what you would want to be using for wolf gray would be somber, right? Somber's a little dark, though. They don't have this exact color in the game color line. I think that cold gray doesn't have enough blue in it. Yeah, so you may want to, if you're finding that your gray that you're using right now is too bright, you may want to mix it with some black gray. I think you've probably got black gray from one of our other things that we've done. So you can either use black gray to dim it down, kind of get it a little bit darker. Or I wouldn't use just black, to be honest with you. I think black gray would probably do you quite well. To dull it down a little bit, or any darker of the grays. All right, let's go through now and do the skin. Same color, wolf gray. As a base. Now here, I'm going to focus on not getting much paint in between the two. Another reason why painting them separate, skin versus hair, is beneficial, because here I can leave more darkness in the line between his hair, right, and his scalp, or his forehead here, right? So I can push paint in there, but maintain that nice dark shading from our black, like right around here. And I'm going to do that all the way down the neck.
Get down with the clown.
What? Speaking of, what's up, Telemagus?
I feel good.
Where the hell has Psychotic been lately? How you doing, Telemagus? I did not get your gift certificate out to you before the stream today. I apologize. I was telling everybody today. Not to tell you, like, make up a story. They wanted, I'm going to blame them. They all wanted to lie to you. There you go, throwing people under the bus. For my own mistakes. I'm a bad person. I'll get it out to you right after the stream today. Over on the other computer, it's literally sitting open to the page, probably. I opened it and then got distracted, and it never happened. Rip. Rip. Alright, I'm going to go with just the tip of the brush and get in here in the collar area and just kind of stipple some of the gray very, very thin down in there. Don't want it too bright because that's going to be the most shadowed area, so it's okay if it's barely covering the black down there at all. And if you stipple it, it gives it kind of a, it gives it a texture, and so that's fine for like down there where we're not going to be able to get a lot of work done. I'm having a hard time figuring out what this other stuff is. Like, I feel like this is also hair, this little piece right here. Two, right beneath the flight on the arrow, there is a piece of hair coming out from his neck, kind of. You want to make sure you get, yeah. So that's pretty good. Face stuff. So we're not going to do his hands this color. Hands and feet are going to be like yellowy orange foot color. And then, of course, his beak will be a different kind of goldish yellow. And such. Space Wolf Gray is very bright. What are you talking about, Uncle Touchy? Is there a color called Space Wolf Gray? You got Somber too, though, didn't you, Ray? Yeah, the two are different. Sorry if I didn't mention that. I know when you emailed me that I said Somber and Wolf. Wolf is like Fog, right? So Fog and Gorgon Hide wind up being like Wolf and whatever the hell the other one is. Not Ghost Gray, maybe Ghost Gray. I don't remember on Game Color exactly what they're called. Yeah, they're triad and the same sort of colors in Vallejo Game Color are shifted one up. So their wolf is like Fog Gray. Sorry about that. You can take the Somber Gray if you've got it and do a real thin down glaze of Somber right over your Wolf Gray and darken it up pretty quick. And not have it be a huge problem. Word association and you are not the best. Trust me, I'm right there with you. Eaten by creatures. It was all eaten. They ate my homework. The creatures. Does staining your fence count as whip? Sure, why not? You seen Venturella's review? Hard to compare pricing, though, when you consider... Oh, Maui, what are you talking about? Oh, the War Colors stuff? Yeah. Nope. He just wouldn't... He didn't... I don't know that he priced them right out of the gates to be done through distribution, so... He wasn't giving us a discount on them enough to pay for shipping over here. Right. Ready to roll. What is happening? And thank you for those nice words, Maui Blood. I'm glad you think our customer service is on par with where it should be. I'm constantly stressed, feeling like I'm not doing a good enough job. You're working on the blues before BVC. You had to come in. Highlights are tough. Not sure if you did it right. Okay, so I was working on the blues before I had to come in. Highlights are tough. Not sure you did it right. What kind of questions specifically, BVC? What would be a good purple in your Army Painter stuff instead of the Royal? The Army Painter doesn't have that purple. You've got Alien, which will work, right? Alien purple is going to be brighter, though, so you're going to have to be really careful. I would take the Alien purple and mix it with the deep blue that we were doing, right, to get Royal, right? So if you mix these, kind of probably start with like 75 purple, 25 blue, and see what you get, and see if you can drive it this dark. Right, that's the problem with the Army Painter, which is why we didn't use an Army Painter purple on this. Royal purple is kind of my go-to for mixing. Like I showed you guys on, I think it was Friday. It's such a great color because it's deep enough, but not so deep that it muddies everything you mix it with. But you can get to it. You're just going to either need to use your deep blue, or if you have Dark Sky from Army Painter, maybe as well. Void Shield, and it was really hard because at the time it felt like it was too much. Yeah, Void Shield's even brighter than the Trog, right? So you could mix a little bit of your Void Shield with your Viking Blue. Did you use Viking Blue as your midtone? You could take Void Shield. I don't have Void Shield sitting out here, but in order to get to Troglodyte, you could mix the Void Shield with the Viking Blue and get the midtone. I know that's a pain sometimes as far as time spent mixing, but it's well worth it rather than jumping up too bright. Because again, if you go from too dark to too bright, your fabric stops looking like fabric, starts looking like a hard surface. Because the bright starts looking like a shine as opposed to a blended highlight. Oh, he was eaten by creatures, Telebadger. Oh, hopefully not. Hopefully not. BBC used crystal blue. Crystal blue. See, I should have them all right here, right? Got this. What is this? Ice Storm. Void Shield. Crystal. Electric. Maybe? Oh, Crystal. As your mid-tone, you use Crystal. Okay, well, Crystal and Viking are not too far apart, so that's okay, right? So Crystal Blue is a good kind of cue in for Viking. It's only a little bit brighter, but not enough to make a difference. So if you went Deep Blue into Crystal Blue and then into Void Shield, the Void Shield is a little too bright, right? See how the Trog Blue is just enough darker? Void Shield would be a highlight for Trog. So just take the Void Shield and mix it with Crystal Blue, and that'll get you what you need. Right? Just mix these two to get this. It's a subtle enough difference that, I mean, it will be a problem for you as you work it. Because the Void Shield is just that much brighter that I feel like it's going to feel, like you said, it's a little out of place. Azabands, what's going on? Death, what's going on, brother? All right. I feel like. Yeah, let's go in with the Fog Gray next. We did Wolf Gray. Grab your Fog Gray. All right. Or whatever you're using for your quote-unquote middle gray. We're going Wolf, Fog, and Gorgon Hide, right? For our skin and such, right? So Wolf, Fog, and Gorgon Hide. Now on the Gorgon Hide, I'm thinking we're probably going to go brighter on the hair. So we're going to go Wolf Gray or Wolf, Fog, Gorgon on the hair. We may not use Gorgon Hide on the skin. We'll see. Right? I feel like I probably want to have the skin remain a little bit darker and have the hair be a little bit whiter because the hair falls across more of our blue. So to separate it out from the blue, we'll leave it like that. Oh, no big deal, BBC. That's what we're here for, man.
Harper, a couple of those panty shields and some illegal fireworks, and one of those disposable enemas. No,
tell it. Now it's a party. So BBC, are you literally out there painting and then you come inside to chat with us? You're a trooper, dude. We need to send you like something that magically allows you to like hear us in there, at least. All right, so Fog Gray. Here we're gonna just start using the side of the brush. The hair has got a pretty good depth to the sculpt, so we may be able to get away with this. I don't want the paint very wet. We can use the side of the brush to pick up the strands of hair. Now you can only really make this work when the sculpt is good, like it is here. And by good, I mean that the valleys between, you know, the sculpt pieces of hair are deep enough that the side of the brush won't lay paint in there. And you'll just kind of get the tops of each of the strands. Rather than trying to use the point of the brush to paint each individual hair, this sculpt allows us to kind of be a little bit freewheeling with it. Again, just use a very light hand when doing this. A heavy hand and too much paint on the brush will put a lot of paint down in the in between the hairs, and that'll kind of ruin your shading that you got there. Not a good thing. So just make sure you knock most of the moisture off of the brush. Use the flat and a very light amount of pressure as you're applying the brush to the model. and just rely on multiple layers to get the job done for us. Be careful on the back side of his man bun because it starts thinning out, so it'll start, it looks like it will start to encroach on that space, so be careful. Again, a light hand will let you see that stuff happen before it becomes a problem. You'll start seeing the paint kind of encroach on the middle before it actually like just bleeds all the way through. I painted this like it was his hair that was tied the bun, but in the model that I'm looking at, it actually has like a ribbon or something, or like a big rubber band that does that, and it's not sculpted to be his hair that does that. So we'll color this band something else, so I'm not going to worry about that. You want to get this highlight area on the underside of the loop of the bun. Down here. Rotating the model so I can get to the hair the way I need to keep using the side of the brush. Very easy way to just get it to be nice and drive that that wolf gray into our shadow really, really easily. Come back with the tip of the brush and fix any of the specific lines that maybe didn't take all the way, or if you want to thicken them up in some places. Because we still have another higher gray to use. So don't be afraid to put this on there pretty thick. Thick in dimension, not thick in depth. I don't want thick paint. I just want this to be on the model in a little bit wider footprint so that our next layer of gray has a place to live and we can still see this. Here I'm having to use the point of the brush more and kind of draw this in. There's not, the sculpt is still great here, but there's not as much depth in the sculpt so that I can use the side and just cheat and get that paint on there. So we got to be a little bit more specific. Feisty hair up underneath the flight arrow. I feel like I'm going to forget it a million times. But notice how now, right, just because we can be a little bit looser, we're still being thin, but notice how now I'm getting that nice blend out of shadow, whereas that wolf gray looked pretty bright. Now when we put this on there, that wolf gray looks a lot darker. I get shadows out of it where it didn't look like we were going to be able to get shadows before. Right? Now on these, I want to come in here and make sure I push a little bit of this fog gray in between each hair. This is one of those scary things. This is where you don't want a lot of paint on your brush as you do this. because obviously you're not trying to overtake your shadows. What you're trying to do is make sure it doesn't look like each hair has a line of brightness on the top, right? You still need it to blend, and we don't have a lot of surface area to blend. So what I do is when there's barely any paint left on the brush, I just take one quick swipe through those shadows with it, like that, right? And it brightens the inside just a little bit, so it looks like it's more of a blend between that and the layer that we put on the outside edge, but it doesn't, get rid of my shadow altogether. But this is one of those, I talk about this frequently, and yet I don't know that we ever really spend a whole lot of time on it, is paying attention to how much paint load is on your brush, and then using it for different things as that paint load changes. And by paint load, I mean how much paint is really on it at any given time, right? When I first go to my palette and put paint on the brush, that's when it'll have the most, right? It just kind of goes without saying. It's not gonna miraculously get more as I'm over here, but it'll have the most then. So I wanna do the spots that I want the brightest paint, top of the hairs, other little pinpoint highlights and things like that we're doing. Thank you, Prolapse. What's going on? Prolapse is just a word. What's happening? Thank you for that follow. Right. So, and if you then wait and normally then we'd have we're pulling a line across the top of these hairs and we notice that I don't have enough paint for that to be bright anymore. Rather than go and reload your paintbrush, think about what you can do with what paint you do have on your brush. Okay. What will make that, how can you use that paint that's quote unquote not enough for certain tasks to be just enough for other things? And for us, it's just enough to come in here and barely brighten up, right, those shadows in between those hairs. And it'll help a lot for making that transition, but not deleting the shadow. I still get darkness in between my lines of hair, it's just not as much as it was before. Right? And that makes it quote-unquote blend, because remember, we're still going to hit this with Gorgon hide, right? And Gorgon hide might as well be white for what we're using it for. So if we were to put Gorgon hide on top of each one of these individual strands of hair, but have those shadows be as dark as they were, then the Gorgon hide versus the shadow is going to make it look like a pinstripe suit on his top of his head, and that's not what we're looking for, right? BBC spouse is yelling out the window everything that we say with a bullhorn. Imagine what his neighbors think. What the hell are those people doing over there? You walk on crutches and was getting flustered with the blues, so when your parents left, you had to come in. Your mom worries. Oh man, you got it. You are putting in double time, BBC. Kudos to you. It sounds like you were fighting the good fight right there. Well, number one, never feel bad about asking questions, right? Around here, that's what we're about. So don't ever feel like you got something you need to know and you're like, oh, it'll just bother him to ask. It never bothers me to ask, okay? Unless it is about Grease 2, at which point in time I might get flustered. But other than that, ask anything, man. So yeah, definitely make the most of your time, especially if you're having a hard time getting around. We're here to help. I must be some kind of paint wizard. You still learn new spells daily. We got all the potions. Mr. Zombie, what's going on? Time zones are confusing. Trust me, I have no idea. I didn't realize there are parts of the world where it's already tomorrow? What? Welcome, Mr. Zombie. And welcome, Prolapse. Gren's good to see you again, man. Yeah, Prolapse, we are doing what we call a paint-along. There are about 20 of our viewers out there sitting in chat with you right now that are also painting this same model. This is the Buzinbo. It is a bird samurai from a game called Bushido by GCT Studios. And he's a pretty large model, actually, considering I think I was showing off the human-sized figures in the game, or standard 28 mil. And he's got to be at least a 54, maybe a 60 millimeter height. So he's a pretty big bird. And it's a really great game, skirmish game, tabletop wargaming, if you're familiar with Warhammer, all of that. Hopefully you found us through that. If not, if you just found us roaming around Twitch, welcome. We paint miniatures here pretty much all the time. And when we're not painting miniatures, we're playing the games that involve the miniatures and doing reviews and all sorts of stuff. So we got a great crowd in here. If you got any questions, feel free to ask. Glad you found us. Take a seat, pull up a chair, get a nice beverage. And let's dig in. So we still got more of this hair to do. Oh God, we got lots of hair to do. Boy has got extensions. He got his hair did. Same thing. I mean, notice how thin my paint is as I have to color this hair. I'm like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 strokes to get that little piece of hair as bright as I want it. That should give you an idea of how thin I work. I'm always trying to find ways to really ingrain upon people what it is that makes my style work the way it does. And it's the fact that everything that I paint on is so translucent. And so before a paint really appears on the model, it has to overtake the color underneath it. And by doing so, you spend time on all the in-between steps where it hasn't quite overtaken the paint underneath it, right? This light gray won't immediately lay over the darker gray and give me light gray. It'll give me, 5 or 6 grays in between before it takes over. And those 5 or 6 grays in between become your blends, become your highlights, become your shadows, right? You get the drill? It's all of that control you get from all the steps in between that I would go bonkers if I were sitting here trying to, blend all these colors of gray. Right now what we're dealing with is looking at the wolf gray base coat that we put down over the top of black. That's what's given us the darker gray. And then where we layer the wolf gray on more, it gets a little bit brighter, gives us a mid-tone. Then we come back over with what we're doing right now, which is the fog gray from Army Painter. And it gives us, one step up as we apply it over wolf. And then as we keep layering, it gets us a really, really bright gray. So we get a lot more than just what looks like 2 colors on the hair. Underside highlight here where the bird bun loops back around underneath. I guess birds can be hipsters too. Is that the deal? I feel like in feudal Japan the bun was a different thing than it is today. Hipsters trying to be samurais? Is that what we got going on? Is that what we're seeing in society right now? Just maintaining separation as I go down each strand of hair. I am focusing on individual strands. I want some blending, so I might, go ahead and put a little bit of the gray in between the strands so that I don't get just a very stark, river of gray in between 2 strands of hair. Hair has volume, meaning that, even though on the sculpt, as the sculptor works, they're doing individual strands of clay, and those strands of clay lay up and give us big, thick bundles of hair. But remember that, these aren't dreadlocks on this guy, right? It's not like I can grab this bundle of hair and move it instantaneously, and there's a big gap between another bundle of hair. So you have transitions in there. It's just that you have to imagine the hair's lower, but it's thick, right? Bird pun. Birdman! Havro man, what's going on? Bird person? It's not rash. You hush. You hush. Ray, if you're having problems already, I feel bad for you, son. We ain't even started non-metallic metal yet. That's for Friday. Yeah, we're going to keep moving. Try to keep our speed on today. We got to get through quite a bit if we can. So I want to take enough time to make sure that everybody that's out there painting along feels comfortable with the model. But I would like to be doing some of the armor on Friday during the show. And so to do that, we've got to be... And then Tuesday of next week, we'll continue and we'll be doing feathers. Because I know we're not going to get through all of the non-metallic and to the point where we can be doing the wings this week. I just don't see that happening. Doesn't mean it's impossible. Miracles can happen, I think. So somebody says. But I tend to not believe that to be true. Here, the sculpt is pretty smooth, so I'm just going to use very loose brush strokes to maintain a little bit of shading in between the folds. Hair, just going for the high spots with the fog gray. Can't really use the side of the brush trick. It doesn't work as well when there's not the depth on the sculpt, so I just kind of pick out. Notice how I'm being much looser with that brush stroke, right? Just kind of slapping the brush at the model right now. And it'll give me some color on there, but also maintain some shadow, as long as my aim is good. Obviously, I'm not trying to cover the entire area. I'm trying to get like these individual streaks of hair.
Hey, somebody likes us.
Hey! Beardango! Hell yeah, what a name. What is going on? Thank you so much for the follow. Here I can kind of use the side of my brush. If I keep the angle right, it'll get just like the high points.
Well, huzzah, huzzah! I'll just throw back my legs and pollute my britches with delight.
Kind of cool. Eskimo Force! 3 months in a row! Thank you, my friend. Thank you guys for the continued support. The new support, we got 4 more new subs. I don't know, are we still on half price today? Somebody confirm or deny? I don't know if that's over yet or not. I feel like it was maybe the 18th it ended, or will end. Which would be, what, tomorrow? Today? I don't remember. 4 more new subs, and we got a giveaway to do. Somebody will be getting themselves a gift certificate over to slowfusegaming.com, where you can pick up all of your hobby supplies. That's our online store. Paints, brushes, models, all the good stuff. So every 20 new subs to the channel, we make sure that we give back. And you could win up to a $100 gift certificate over on the store, which is no joke. The $100 ones are fun because a lot of people get at least a medium or a large mystery box. I have a blast doing the mystery boxes. Get to sit around and think like, okay. And you know, some of you guys that win and get the mystery box, like I don't know anything about you really, like other than what, you know, some of the silly jokes we tell on stream. And so it's always fun for me to be like, I wonder if this person's ever seen this model, and I'll just shove it in a box. Genuine, what the hell is going on, man? Good to see you. Middle of the day, morning, late to rise. Don't tell me you're just drinking coffee, you lazy bum. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Taria Shrug, you have the 250 option? So it's still on? Ah, cool. Yeah, so Bear that says it's over. I thought it was till the 18th. They extended it, but they made it on the hush. We got an email, and then I don't know that I deleted it instantly, not thinking about it. So. Real Ashman, you bought a medium mystery box the other day. I know, right? It was awesome. Old tease, do I use a wet palette? I do not, sir. I do not. I don't... So a wet palette... I feel like for a lot of people, a wet palette is the catalyst for working thinner and smoothing your paints out because it forces you... Most people over-wet their palette. The water overtakes some of the paint and it becomes thinner than they may realize. And so then they paint with it and they get smoother and better, work on their model. I can't guarantee that, but I've seen it happen enough. Taria, that's awesome. Thank you so much. 17. 3 more new subs and we're going to do a drawing. And I feel like that is part of the deal. 9 times out of 10, I see people using wet palettes, not using them. I don't know that there's really a correctly way, right? But the goal of a wet palette is to keep your acrylics alive longer, right? Workable longer without having to add a bunch of, anti-drying mediums and agents to them. So the wet palette, in theory, will keep your colors able to be mixed. And if you clamp it up airtight, stick it in the refrigerator overnight because you have some custom mixed colors on it, then you can pull it out the next day and those colors should technically still be enough alive to use again. I know that I have friends that use wet palettes for canvas painting when doing acrylics and stuff, and they've been able to keep mixes alive for weeks in the fridge with a wet palette. Most people that I know working in miniature don't use it that way. They just use it as a way to thin their paints. And so I don't know. I don't see what all the hubbub's about. I have one, right? I've used them enough. I'm just like, I always go back to not using them. It's for getting drunk day. Drago, your mystery box is cool. You should be getting it like tomorrow, I would think, maybe? Question mark. Yeah, see, OTs, that's it. Is that a lot of times people will overwet their palette by accident. Just, it's not by any fault of your own. And then you'll get a better consistency of paint out of that. Now, take what you've done there on the wet palette and be able to recreate it without the wet palette so that it isn't a mistake anymore. It's something that you do on purpose. And if you can make it work with the wet palette the same all the time, more power to you. I just do it straight on my palette itself, right? So I waste more paint than most people do, but this is my palette, right? It's just a big piece of palette paper, right? It's this stuff. It's 9x12 Masters Touch palette paper right there. There's the advertisement. Right? So this is my palette that I work from. And I just have each individual color of paint. Sometimes, at the beginning of my palettes, they all look like this. It looks like I have some sort of rhyme or reason. Like, oh, look, here's all my yellows and my oranges. And oh, look, here's all my greens. And oh, look, here's my reds and my magentas. And oh, look, here's all my blues. And over here's kind of start my grays. And here's some mixing. But it doesn't last. It doesn't last. I'm horrible with this, And so pretty soon it just looks like a freaking catastrophe, as Rob would say. And by the way, hey, Ferrithus, what's going on, man? Ferrithus, you won't see it for here if you're already subbed, right? Because you don't get the half off unless it's your first time subbing to a channel. Or if it's been like 32 days since you subbed the last time to a channel, maybe. I don't remember what the cutoff is, but... All right, back at it. Back at it, and then we'll take a look at some whip. It's 3:30, 3:21. We'll take a look at some whip here pretty soon. If you want to get involved and show us what you're working on, it is !whip in chat. It is Whip Wednesday, although with the paint-along, it's less of a Whip Wednesday than maybe normal. I should be flogged. Get a little bit more highlight on the hair in here. That's pretty good. That's pretty nice.
find a website that shows monkeys doing it.
You do not. If there was a website that showed monkeys doing it, none of us would ever get anything done. Jeez. Or maybe that's just me. But I know where I'd be all day. That is still funny as hell, though. If you go to monkeysdoingit.com, you may or may not know this, but monkeysdoingit.com is a great place to buy all your hobby supplies. Because after enough joking about it, we actually bought that domain name, and we now own monkeysdoingit.com, even though somebody tried to take it away from us for being despicable. Some We Love Monkeys group probably tried to get it taken away from us. We're like, dude, it's a hobby store, and it's a joke. All I had to do was tell the guy at our hosting agent, and he was like, oh, okay. I was like, I mean, like, you guys didn't even try to load up the page to see? He's like, I don't want to see monkeys doing it. He was really funny, that guy. Like, I didn't want to see monkeys doing it. Come on, man. He's like, why would you name your hobby shop monkeysdoingit.com? I was like, it's a joke. The store is called Slow Fuse Gaming. We have slowfusegaming.com. I'm Slow Fuse. You're talking to me. That's the name on the account. And he's like, oh, yeah. He goes, well, you just have to understand, like, when we get complaints, we have to shut them down. Like, ah! Peep in on the neighbors next door. Don't do that. You can go to jail for that. Don't ask me how I know this. But don't peep in on your neighbors. It's a bad move. Slow Fuse Gaming. Uncomfortable. Awkward neighbor. Alright, now moving on to the skin. Want to get a little bit of this gray on the skin. Remember, we're not going to go as bright on the skin, I don't think, but we want to at least start with this mid-tone gray. Get the cheeks and a little bit going down into the neck, remaining with that dark shade around the hairline that we've got. All right, but just start pulling a little bit of light color in here. We're not going to do too much of the skin today. We're going to focus on getting the hair highlighted up, then we'll move on to the red. All right. We can always come back and do the face a little bit later. It's not horrible to think that we got to work on this area. There's not a whole lot around it that I'm worried about. Right? But what I do want to do is, as you're seeing me, I just want to stipple a little bit of brightness on the cheek right under the eye. Again, using that stippling technique where I'm just kind of poking at it with the point of the brush very, very lightly. So it puts a little dot of paint each time the brush touches the model. And those little dots of paint bleed out into one another and give us a really neat kind of blend that also has some texture to it. Because you can imagine the light kind of furry, downy feathers on the bird's face are not going to be like human flesh. Even human flesh has got pock marks and hair and things like that on it if you're painting a beard, but you know, it can also be very smooth. Bird doesn't have smooth skin, right? Except on the claws, right? So the face, we can imagine it's little bitty downy feathers. So I don't want to just paint with smooth strokes. I want to get in here and stipple that in. So if I can get the camera to kind of focus up close, hopefully you can see. Anyone? Bueller? Come on, Cam, you can do it. You can do it. Put a little bit of texture on it. You can see that. And again, not too much color down as
Why
we
don't
go
you
further down.
donate
into
$5 to the
neckline.
cause, and maybe it'll make you feel better.
A little bit brighter right here.
$10 donation received from Telemachus.
Telemachus.
My name comes from Homer's
Oh, she
Odyssey
loves your
and is
name.
actually pronounced Telemachus.
Little known fact of the day, your name comes from Homer's Odyssey, and it actually pronounced Telemachus? Telemachus. I think that's the pronunciation. Telemachus. Telemachus. I will never forget. I will forget. But I'll pretend like I won't forget. Telemachus. She didn't know she screwed your name up harder than I did. So I always have Windows Woman to fall back on. When I feel like I've butchered your name, I haven't done it half the murder that could be done, as we have seen. All you have to do is type it into whatever she does to pronounce it, and it will totally be screwed up. Telemachus was son of Odysseus? What's up, Silvernail? Oh, yeah. All right, last bout on the hair. We're moving to Gorgon hide next. Almost like a white. Gorgon hide is a really good mixer for highlighting blues, some purples if you're going very pale, but mostly blues. Grays, to some extent, like we're doing here. But it can be like the way we use ivory for yellow metals. You can use Gorgon hide on steel if you're doing silver non-metallics as well. It makes for a really good high highlight if you want to have a little tinge of blue in it already. Now here, we are just trying to get the tops of the hairs. Right? Notice how much brighter this is than everything we've done already. Still want it pretty thin. I'm going to take most of the paint off my brush. And then again, using the side of the brush, I just want to kind of catch right here at the front. Work back towards that bun, but I'm going to stop short of the bun with the highlight, right? Because I want the hair to be darker and shadowed in towards the binding around his bird bun. But first, I'm going to focus on having this Gorgon hide right across the pinnacle of his forehead, kind of this part of his hairline right here. So, and of course the top of the bun, focus in the middle, don't drag it too far again over towards the binding, the wrap there. Focus right here in the middle. Being careful not to leave too thick of an end on the line, and that comes from having too heavy of a hand. So sometimes I'll see guys, when they're doing their edge highlighting, where the line just kind of goes and then abruptly stops, and you can see it stop. And that's because you're using too heavy of a brush stroke. Right? A little bit lighter brush stroke to where it's like the brush is hardly even touching the model, right? And it will, as you lift it up off the model, taper off and give you a really nice kind of chisel tip to your highlight lines. So they just kind of fade in and fade out is what you're looking for. Really saturating too much in it. As we get brighter, the light needs to get dimmer. And this is a true highlight now. We want to make sure that we are just hitting the tips of the hair that are exposed out into the light, making sure that we leave enough unhighlighted to give us the feel of shading still. So like here where this hair flips out from underneath the bun, obviously my highlights are going to be here towards the tips of the hair. You don't always highlight up high. So just getting the bottom of those hairs. So again, I'm pushing shadow up towards this bound part of his hair. Everything culminates with it getting darker right around that bun wrap. Somebody's bound to know what that's called. I don't. Not my steez. The whole man bun thing. While we're here And I have very little paint left on the brush. Perfect time to start getting highlights down here where the sculpt smooths out a little bit. Less paint, less brightness right away. Get more subtle highlighting. So, this is one of those times I was just talking about. What can I do with the brush when I have very little paint left on it? Well, think about it. What parts of the hair don't need to be as bright, but still want a little bit of white on them? Or this, I call this white, but the Gorgon hide. Areas like this, where it's up kind of shaded by the cheek.
Well,
Right in
huzzah,
here.
huzzah.
Still
I'll
wants a
just
little bit of
throw back
highlight.
my legs and pollute
Max
my
with a
britches
sub,
delight.
10 months in a row. Thank you, my friend, for the continued support. 10 months. Swear to God, you people are all psychotic. Nobody could possibly like me that long. Except Jen. She always says, I do. She's just trying to get attention, though. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. We're pushing into some pretty good, like, kind of old man gray hair, which I really dig on this guy. I like the idea, whether it's part of their lore or not, that the bigger birds are the older, been around forever, better warriors kind of thing, right? That's a neat kind of thought for me in battle games and fiction and stuff, when you have, like, the bigger orcs, you know, are the badasses, and they're darker green, and that's why they call them black orcs in some places or whatever. You know, I dig all that kind of narrative. We're going to go with the gray-haired guys. You see, because I'm old is why I like this, right? Jack of Clubs, what's going on? Nice! Yeah, Jack of Clubs just ordered a mystery box, as a matter of fact. And he got a Tengu Dissension starter box for the Tengu that we were going to be doing with Bushido. Bushido! Glad you like him, man. I wasn't sure, you know. That's part of the thrill and the scared nature of the mystery box. It's like, what if they don't like what they get? Even down here where most of the hair is in shadow, I still want to pick out a couple little spots. Drop in some brighter color. Not too much. You don't want to overtake it too much. More shadow than anything else, but... be a little bit more liberal up top. Still using a fairly loose brush stroke so that on these flats, the flat sides of these hairs that he's sculpted, he or she, I'm not assuming it's always a he, that you can get some thread or some, I don't know, hair texture, right, with a loose brush stroke. So notice how I'll just kind of swipe at it. Okay on hair to get an uneven texture. It's almost wanted. Like we planned it that way almost. Holy hell. I don't have a plan for anything, actually. That's a lie. I like to pretend I might have a plan someday. If we make his wings brown, he'll look like a bald eagle. We are going for brown wings, believe it or not. The color list calls for, I think on the wings, the main color of the wings is black brown into chocolate brown into beastie brown with some whole red glazing that we're going to do, and then bone white accents. So yes, we are going for sort of a bald eagle-ish feel. Although he's definitely not bald, he's got hair for days. Got hair for days. I think he's got extensions. I think maybe he was getting towards the point in time where he's a little afraid that he didn't have it anymore, and so he went and got some extensions put in. The real name of the clan is supposed to be the Tengu Extension, not Dissension. They just had it was a typo on the box, and they just went with it because they didn't want to redo all the boxes. GCT, the guys are going to hate me. They're going to hate me. They're going to be like, why are we getting messages saying that the Tengu all have hair extensions now? My words, not theirs. The guys at GCT are fantastic. They're great guys. Lots of fun. And really dig miniatures in general, which is nice. It's good that people love their trade. And even better so when they turn it into a great game. All right. Hair. Bing, bang, bong. We're going to leave the hair there. Remember, we're not trying to finish any one part of the model. I say this all the time. It's one of my mantras that I preach time and time again. You can get too ahead of yourself. You can make one thing, push it to where you feel like, okay, great. I feel like the hair needs to go all the way to white or whatever. And you push it too far, at which point now you've overdone it. Well, maybe not overdone it. That's a bad word. Maybe it's just right. But now it will influence the other things that you paint in a manner that may not be indicative of how you want to go about it. Because we're still looking at mostly a black model here, right? Because of the primer. So as we go in and do various colored sections, the blue, the grayish whites for the hair, the grayish white on the skin, we're going to start doing the reds now, layering in some of the reds, and then of course we'll move into the non-metallic golds, and then finally doing a bunch of the details. And the wings. So as we do that, you want to have every color start from kind of a neutral balance point, if that makes any sense to you. You don't want to have the model be overly bright right now, right? The blue, the grayish white hair is all starting to set on the model really nicely, and we're good. We're not done, but we're good, right? We haven't balanced out all of our value because we can't until the whole model is painted. At least with base coats and first layer highlights. You can't start picking how bright you want your blue to be. How do you know? Because your blue is going to sit next to orangish yellow hands, yellow gold armor on the chest, the white of the hair, the gold of the beak, the brown of the leather strap, the brown of the wings. Until all of that is on here to call it 75% of your work done on every color, how can you possibly choose what to do with any one color? Like I see a lot of people painting, very, very high skilled painters, painting over like black or white primer or whatever it is, and they'll pick up a piece of armor on the model and just detail the shit out of it till it's like, oh my God, and you look at it and it's like, wow, that's amazing, dude. Like you painted that piece of armor and it looks like I could reach out and polish it like it's really polishable gold. Problem is that now they're going to go paint the next little section of the model. It might be the skin next to that gold. And that gold is all peaked up to ultimate brightness with super saturation shines on it. So now you paint a piece of leather next to it. And in order to get detail out of the leather, you got to paint the leather too bright because you've already finished this gold at like this ultra bright level. And so now you have this painter who may be like a fantastic paint technique off the charts, beats me by a long shot. But the composition of the model when put all together is too much. It's too much to look at for me because it's like, wow, every piece of that model was painted like an individual component or like an individual piece of art. And that's not how the world looks. A piece of art is the sum of all of its components, not all of those components treated like a piece of art. Does that make sense? So work things up over time. Don't try to push yourself to finish the skin, let's say, and go and detail it and highlight it and glaze it and shade it and get it all perfect, and yet you haven't painted anything else on the model. You know, maybe there are people out there who are really excel at painting that way, but I feel like the better way to learn and the better way to gain your own confidence about the completion quality of your model is to paint everything in sections and layer it all up together to where at the end what you're looking at is a model that is 75% of the way done on all of its parts. Then you can start picking and choosing what needs to be bright, what needs to be dark, and you can glaze darkness on the low side and brightness on the high side and start working to bring the whole composition together, and your completed product is much better for it than if you overdo certain aspects working out. So there you go. There's my long rant. I've told some really, really good painters that before, and they just kind of look at me like, oh. Silvernail, large birds have magic bows that don't require strings. Not answering that question again. Yeah, I don't string bows for minis. It looks silly. It looks silly. Most times the bows themselves aren't like bent back at full pull anyway, right? So I never do it. Yes, Ray. Assassin Red, what's going on? Do I watch the giant robot battle? Yes, I did, as a matter of fact. Yes, I did. Have I ever done Jen's nails for her? No. Have you ever seen Jen's nails? I've told you this before. Like, somebody else asked why I don't paint Jen nails, and I was like, have you seen Jen's nails? Jen's nails are like mine. Literally worse than mine. Jen is not that girly girl type. She is a girly girl, but when it comes to her nails, no. Like, she'll go get a mani-pedi thing, whatever those are, and get her fingernails painted and all that, but I feel like, nah, she doesn't ever have, like, nails. Ever. Like, literally her fingers look like mine. All the time. That's why we get along so well. Exactly, Silvernail, like an old kung fu master. I dig that part. Disregard your first two picks in Whip, Maui Blood? All right, as a matter of fact, let's do that real quick. Let's go take a look at Whip real quick before we get moving on towards our reds. I think what we want to do next is start throwing in some of the mahogany and maybe base coating multiple areas so that we can start to get a feel for some of our color on him. But that's going to start with the red. We're going to be doing kind of lacquered red armor on the middle of the tabard thing here. We'll be doing non-metallic gold on this trim on the bottom. There is a red kind of, heavy leather piece behind the armor that runs on the rib cage, right? Like it's an underpiece on the breastplate, and that will be red. That might be the only things that we really do red. I'm thinking on these plates on the thighs, whether or not to do the base of the plate red and then just the trim in gold, or the whole plate in gold. The studio model has that whole plate in non-metallic gold, and I'm not sure I 100% like that. I feel like maybe a little bit more of the deep red would be cool, but I don't know. We'll see. Last night was the prelude to Mech Warriors becoming real. Okay. I want to believe too, but no. Nah. I've said it before. Well, I don't know. The Japanese robot actually had a much better propulsion platform than the big one with the tread, or with the tank tracks, right? I liked the Japanese one with the tractor rear and the stabilizing arms of the wheels on them up front. I don't think it was built heavy duty enough. It had a little too much finesse, but it was fun. It was fun to watch for sure. Not gonna lie, it was kind of staged and hokey, but what do you expect? You knew nobody was gonna go out and get hurt. All right, we got a lot going on here today, guys. All right, cool. Let's start. Oh, yeah, I'll take a look at this one, and then we're gonna only look. First, we're gonna go through and look at all of the paint-along stuff. But Ratataz is painting his big Nurgle dude. Wings are drying in only a couple of days with highlights and shading to go. I really just dig these wings, man. I really like the kind of muddy browns going up into the teals or turquoise or what you got going on here. I really dig that on the wings. Yeah, I'm stoked to see where you get at the end game of this. Mortarion is a cool model, not going to lie. I dig it. I dig that the wings are moth, butterfly, weird, kind of, as opposed to just regular demon wings. I really dig this. More insectoid almost than anything. They're pretty cool. All right, let me find all of the paint-along minis first, and then we will move into some of the other stuff. Viking Teabagger, day 1 progress. What a bad week to get stuck late at work. Gonna need to catch up later via the VODs. Oh, Viking, man, I'm sorry about that. That does suck. It's looking good, though. Looking very, very good. Very smooth on the blues. You guys have been killing it. Like, literally, the picks last night, this one, really driving it home. You guys are getting it. The thinness, I think, is really catching on. I'm really impressed with your guys' what's the right term? You're just owning your paint thickness, right? You're making it work really, 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 really well. Dart Thrower with a sub. Thank you, my friend, Dart Thrower. Let's get some hype in chat. That pushes us to 18. We literally need 2 more new subs tonight, guys. Dos, Subos, and we'll be doing a giveaway. So thank you, Dart Thrower. And Bomb in the Cup with 30 bits. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate the support from all you guys. But yeah, Viking Blues are looking great. This was your first set. Maui Blood says skip these 2. He's got better ones or other ones. Here we got Captain America work. Paint along. Why are you painting on Captain America? Is that an actual comic book? I feel like you're doing it wrong. BBC, any advice? The blues are looking fantastic, man. Looking really good. The thing that I look for is finding enough shading throughout the thigh here while also finding highlights. So you got highlights here that are good. They don't look like edge highlights. You've just got a nice blended light blue, but I get the dark blue next to all of the armor pieces here with a nice bright spot on the tip of the knee. Little dark over here. I kind of want to see you do the same thing you got here on the thigh part over here. Realize that then his knee drops into shadow because of the position of the leg on the left. But the top of the thigh, I want to see you pull a little bit more brightness out, but it's all good. Great work. And I think you nailed the purples from what I'm seeing. It might be that you just put a little bit, like maybe your purples overtook this in here. Because I'm feeling like I'm seeing purple here, am I? Let me know if that's actually purple or if that's just the camera and seeing your deep blue. But I feel like if you mix this purple, you did a great job. And yeah, so you've got it to where the goal here when doing a hue shift with something like purple, that a little bit of additional color on top of a blue, you want to make it look like it's not a two-tone piece of clothing, right? You can imagine like a shirt with a shoulder stripe or something. That's not what we want. We want it to look like the fabric's all one color. There's just something weird going on there, right? Something that's either an unnatural glow or maybe it's the sweat has discolored it or dirt or whatever it is, and that's what the purple is there for. It's not to be a specific thing. It's just to give the brain a little candy to work with as you look at it. And I feel like it looks really good. You're having issues with the purple, you had to fix it? Oh, okay, gotcha. So this is just your dark blue still? It's looking good. I don't feel like you need much at all, other than to just lighten up a little bit of the top of the folds. The same way you did over here, just copy that over here, and I think you're golden. I think you had a butt shot of this as well. Top shot. Yeah, this is looking good. This arm is looking good with brightness. You could stand to go a little bit brighter with it. And then same thing, this top panel here will be the brightest part of the arm. You want to maintain this shadow in between the folds. This is a great fade that you got right here coming off of the top of this fold right here into the blue. You just want to push the brightness a little bit further. This transition that you've got right here where you go from bright to mid-tone is perfect. Move it a little bit more down this way, right? So that you've got more brightness along here and then brightness on the top of this fold and this fold with the darkness in between just like you got over here. You're doing great. This is looking really, really good. Yep, great here. Outside of the butt cheek here should be your spot for highlight on this. So maybe a little bit brighter. Push this brightness off of the top of the butt right here. A little over here. Don't hide all of this shadow. Just push it a little more to the left. Looks great. Looks great. All of this on the back side of the leg looks really good. Because remember, a lot of this is in, like, it's weird. You've got a little bit of highlight on the outside because of openness out here. And then shadow towards the inner thigh. And I think you've done that great. So that looks great. Just push this highlight a little bit further over left on his butt cheek. Ray Silver. Hell yeah, Ray. Yeah, your grays look great. Yeah. Yeah, this looks great. Like I said, you're not looking for super dark shadows on this. Hair doesn't give you tons of really dark contrast, right? Like, look at my hair. Like, now I don't have big, long clumps and mine's very short. But still, you don't get real stark contrast in hair, right? You get patchy highlights and stuff, and, you know, it, no matter if I kind of screw with it or what I'm doing, pinch it together, pull it apart, you don't get, like, black lines in hair, you know? I guess if I could do, like, something like that, I get shadows in between these weird, whatever I got going on with my hair now. So the shadows, because hair tends to fill its own gaps, you don't ever really get a gap that goes all the way down to the root. Unless you have, like, dreadlocks, right? Certain hair types will have, like, dreadlocks, and then you do see scalp, and so you'll get different shadows. But here, I feel like even though the sculpt makes it look like there's big chunks of hair, you still treat it like, you know, you don't want really dark shadows. So this looks perfect. I love it. I will come back to that one. I want to continue on and find all of the paint-along ones. Butt shot. Yep, looking great. Looking great, just like I was talking about. Keep that highlight to the outside. Comes down the outside of the leg, a little bit on the calf. You want to grab a little bit on each of these folds. Just a little, man. Not make it look like a line highlight. Just like one layer of really thin light blue, just to give it enough color so it doesn't dump down into complete darkness on the top of a fold, right? But, I mean, this is minuscule. We're talking about 3 millimeters worth of area there. So, yeah, it looks good. Hair looks great. Digging it. You guys are killing it. Not going to need me soon. I love it. Looking really good, Ray. Yep, this is fantastic right through here. A little bit of brightness on the top of the knee, but then the knee goes into darkness up underneath. None of it looks like a line highlight, right? None of this looks like edge highlighting. It all just looks like a light, faded kind of blue, padded leather. I dig it. Great job. This must be Maui blood. After hair extensions, say what? Say what? Yep, very good. Same thing, good shading. Loving the blue, looking really good. And see, this is why we did the purple, is so that this hair stands in a little starker contrast, not super stark from the blue, but now this doesn't look like it's all part of the same palette of color, right? Between the blue and the white, and this really shows it off because you've got good brightness on your blue, still different than our white hair, whitish gray hair. I like it a lot. Great job. Yep. Yep, I like it. Down here, you can go a little more specific with your light color, just like right here at the tip, bring it out. Get a little brighter on this hump of hair right here, and then maybe a streak and a streak here, and push some fake shadow onto it, because this part of the sculpt looks more like, it looks less like hair right here, just because of the way it's sculpted compared to everything else he did. It gets really big and wonky, so just give it some texture on your own, but don't push it too much. Remember, this is all behind a wing, too, so I'm seeing it differently than it really is on the model right here because of the wings not being on. I dig it. That looks good. Very nice, very nice. Last but not least, Houdini 7, also kicking it in. Digging it. Digging it. I like it. Yep. I dig it. You got a good texture going on here with those highlights. Is there another one here? Again, maybe a little bit more like specific placement with the highlight. And So when I start moving up into the brighter white or gorgon hide in my case, is I want to make sure that I'm getting, you know, like I can see exactly where it lays. It's not as gentle of a blend when I start getting to that brightness. Now, I don't want it to, again, look like a hard surface. You don't want a straight, solid line over shadows on everything else. But I do want to see it peeking out, right? I do want to see, like, the tip of the hair. These two strands right here are really good. Good on the top here. Good on the bun here. Like, I've got a good shadow, and then I've got a highlight and a highlight. Then down here, I'm kind of losing it, right? I want to see a little bit more on these strands. Same way I was looking at Maui Bloods, right? A little bit more like at the tips, right? So that you can keep that color, because remember, it's not just it's not a highlight because of light. We want to think of this lighter color as being that he has that silvery gray hair that trends into kind of a bluish tone. And it is all that way. It's just that in some cases it disappears because of shadows. But where it peaks back out, we want to see it again, right? So we want to see like the tips and things. But really good. You guys are nailing it. All right, now let's go back and look at all the non-paint-along things. We got some more Nurgle stuff happening here. Wrath of Taz again. Digging it. I'm digging it. Behind the wings, they might not be too bright. Yeah, that stuff that's on his shoulder, though, is still not covered by the wing. Not really much of it wouldn't be unless the light was coming from the back because of the way the model is. So the wings don't come up over the shoulders. They kind of stay towards the back. So don't be afraid to add in a little bit more. You don't overdo it on the ones on the back. Like I said, just a little bit, right? Not as much as you did on the top of the head and stuff for sure. Wrath of Taz, I'm digging this. I like it. I always like the dirty kind of, you know, kind of grungy ivory Death Guard armor. Your green's really nice. Like the burn on the front of the Melta there. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good color choices too. Keep us posted as you get through all your highlights on this guy. Yeah, look at that blue. Really nice and smooth. As you start layering up on this is going to really start to come alive. I dig it. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. The verdigris kind of set in here on all of the metallic parts really set them off too. I like it. Big Bobzilla, your whip this week. You need those 24-inch brush. I need a 24-inch Kolinsky Sable brush stat, he says. Not going to happen, my friend. Not going to happen. Like I said, that's like $12,000 worth of brush, I think. I wonder what the factory would say if I called him and said, okay, could I get a square 24-inch wide Kolinsky Sable 4-inch long hair brush? Can you give me a quote on that, please? Thanks. I doubt they'd answer the email. They would all just be like, he's doing the drugs tonight, and not talk to me again. I think that would be the way it would happen. He must be on the drugs. Naked Puzzle Basement, painting dogs. Symbio Beast, hashtag procrastinating adulting. Procrastinating, I say, what? I say, huh? This is looking great, man. Look at these greens. I'm digging the way you got your greens coming alive. Really, really nice. You might think Uncle Touchy actually knows how to paint nowadays. I'm digging it, man. Can't wait to see these guys in person. Really good highlights as you're coming in across like the musculature and the kind of scaliness on his back right here. Really nice, right? Really nice transition from darker and then losing that darkness as it crests over the top of here, but maintaining a highlight so that they switch places, right? Our dark greens switch into just being subtle in between the plates of the armor, where our bright greens do the same. Just the edges of the armor down here, but then the main color up here. Great job right in there. Loving it. Loving it. Yep. Looking great, man. Bold, going with the same kind of color range as the base, right? Because this could get monotonous. Always a fear when you do like the base and you've got that cool green and then you say, hey, I'm going to paint this model the same, but this is actually doing it. And it's probably more because of texture than anything else. You've got the texture on the base and then coming up into this stone that's done in kind of a yellowy brownish. So it almost is like it's got a chameleon effect going is what you're selling here, whether you intended that or not. That's kind of what I'm getting out of this, right? Ready to roll, Arena Rex Legio 13, single model as requested. I dig it. This is what I wanted to see. I couldn't understand what was going on here, and it really is like a growth coming out of his body, huh? Like almost stone growing out of it. I love this model, man. Look at this face. This dude is serious. I like it. I like what you got going on here. It almost looked like soot in the picture yesterday. I was like, I couldn't tell what was going on. Like, did he wipe soot over himself? But this is literally like some sort of mystical barnacle growing out of him. This is awesome. I dig this a lot, right? And I love the yellowed kind of skin. You got a good olive skin going on, but I also love the fact that this, whatever this is transitioned out into it. I get those kind of gray, greenish grays almost kind of penetrating into the skin, so it looks like I like he's changing into this, right? I'm reminded of the what am I trying to say? The HBO series that I never can remember the name of. He died and was decaying and then was brought back. Oh, okay, cool. I like this. Great model. Good job. He looks like the dude in Game of Thrones got touched by the guys that have the disease that turns into like scaly shit. Right? Armin's, what's going on? Yeah, Game of Thrones, but what are those guys called? Yeah, is it Iron Skin? Is that what it's called? I don't remember. Something like that, right? He got touched, right? Sir, what's his nuts? Grayscale. Oh, that's what it is. I think Telemachus is right. I said it right. Like Grayscale or something like that. Yeah. Jorah. Yep. Yeah, he did. Naked Puzzle Basement. Oh, hell, look at him. He's got his Ito clan damn near done, if not done. Look at this. This is what I got to fight against on Sunday. I'm digging it. You got to paint tattoos on this guy, though, dude. He's going to hate me. He's going to hate me. Close this. Find the ones that are not like the... we saw this one for a minute. Taria, learning a new skin workup, Black Lotus Atlas Mini. What you think? I'm really digging this. When we crossed like just for the split second that it came up on the screen originally, I was like, oh wow, I love this. The purple is great. You know, when I look at something like this, I want to like find what jumps out at me, and the whole thing jumps out at me, which is perfect. Your composition here is great. Your skin tones are great. Brightness where you need it, tops of the shoulders, crest of the brow, a little bit on the bottom of the stomach where it starts kind of pooching out again. Not pooch like fat, but you know, you get it. You got a great highlight here, great highlight on the right thigh, whereas the left thigh just has a little bit less. And then, of course, your shin going down into shadow, and then a little bit of brightness on the outside of the foot. Fantastic composition, light to dark here. Absolutely fantastic. Great job. Great job. This is a great example of what I'm always talking about. Take a look at the whole picture. What does it all need to do to fit together? And sometimes that means certain parts of the model don't get as much detail. Look at the purple in her crotch, right? Not that I'm staring at her crotch, but see, like he hasn't focused as much highlight detail here because it doesn't want it. It actually wants to be darker right here to make the whole composition come together. That really helps the skin of the legs pop here and tell its story. Whereas the purple on the outside, where it would be lit more because it doesn't have the belt line and the rest of the body shading it, all has the right amount of highlight, right? Great job here to give dimension and depth on the folds. This is just a great piece of work, Tria. Great stuff. Great stuff. Really good job. You've opened your eyes to see the whole thing. I dig it. And thank you for the bits. Thanks for the bits. I love it. Here. Holy hell, look at this. Pasta Rev, first Infinity model. I'm digging it. I really like the teal shoulders on the Yu Ching. That's really, really cool. This is the Dao Fei with HMG. I think they call this an HMG for him, right? But I'm pretty sure this is that new Dao Fei from the Red Veil expansion set. I have not built mine yet, even though I have a list with a Dao Fei in it, but I run my Crane Agent, one of the Crane models, as my Dao Fei. But I dig this Dalfei model. It's pretty cool. It doesn't appear as heavy as I feel a Dalfei ought to be. That's not you. That's nothing to do with you. I'm just saying the model itself. The model's great, but it feels like a medium infantry, not a heavy infantry, right? I feel like. Yeah, great work on this. Great work on the metallic kind of nature on the gun here. I really dig that. Right? Good job on the yellows. Not pushing them too dirty. Infinity tends to want to be clean unless you're Hawk Islam, I feel like. But I really dig this. Really, really like it. The teal really pops it out. I dig that. And it allows this green on the sword to do work too. Has he got a dual action or explosive? I forget what his sword is. I dig it. Armin's right. So for the first time in 2 years, you're going to have to get a job. What? What? Yeah, the Corvus Belly, the Infinity miniatures are just fantastic, and you've done it great justice here. You got great detail in on this stuff. Like, all of this inner armor always feels like it has, like, muscle group assist on it, right? The way that they've got these striations in it. And you've done great. I can see all that detail going on here, so good job. Has he got a butt shot for me? Side shot. All right. Yeah, great. Just great work. Your blacks and everything look ruddy and dirty without being overly so. Highlights are good without being overly so, right? Nothing jumps out and really pushes its way to the forefront and says, stare at me. The whole model does again. You know, good stuff. And again, good shading on the shins and the low side of the model, whereas the rest of it pulls up into brightness pretty well. Good stuff. I dig it. I like it. Yeah, this is really nice. I like the cape, the teal. Very nice. Did that model justice. I like it. Good stuff. Silvernail also painting Legio 13, it looks like. Same dude. I dig it. This is a great model. The bar has been set, Silvernail. That kind of death working its way through the skin was so good the way he put it. This dude's fairly hefty, right? He's a big dude. I like it. I like it. Good base coats. Houdini again. Let's see. Do we have anybody else left here? Nope. All right, good. We will look a little bit more a little later. Back to some painting. We got a lot we got to do. It's 4:10. I'll run a little late today. I did not let Key know that, but we're going to run a little late today. So if you've got the time to stick with us, please do. We are going to start working on basing some of the red portions of the armor now. And of course, we're going to start in with mahogany. Mahogany! If you do not have a mahogany, you can choose any dark reddish brown. You can mix a red with a brown if you need a base coat for this. I tend to want to do reds like what I'm thinking in terms of like an ox blood leather, if you know what that is. Whenever you like take a leather hide and you dye it with red, and it literally, I don't know if it actually came from ox blood being the dye that they used to use, but they call it ox blood. Somebody have to look that up and let me know. But it's almost like got a purpley tone to it. So I am going to be using mahogany into chaotic red and into vampire red, I think. These colors were not listed on the workup because I wanted everybody to just be able to choose the red that you felt was going to look right for you. If you don't have these exact ones, these are literally just a dark brownish red. That same color with probably a little bit of purple added into it would get you chaotic red. And then the vampire red is again just a true red with just a tinge of purple in it. Right? So, but you can use real red, you can use whatever you got. On mine, I just said get some reds. Ox blood. English name is the name derived from the color of the blood of an ox. The ox blood was used as a pigment. Okay, yeah, that's what I was hoping. Yep. I had heard that, but I never went to fact check it. Yep, dark red with purple and brown undertones. Exactly what we're going for. Exactly what we're going for, Hannah. Telemachus, drink all the things. Can't get any of the Kings of War stuff to paint as an example, and everyone in the area has their armies already painted? What? Is that your job? I'm missing something, I think. You went from saying you had to have a job to not being able to do Kings of War stuff. What am I miss? Did I miss a conversation in the middle of that? I might have missed a statement there. I haven't taught you that skill yet, Uncle Touchy. You haven't asked. All right, so first and foremost, let's get some basing done. Get some mahogany on all the pieces and parts that we need to be red. So we're going to thin our mahogany down. Again, we don't want it to be too thick. Then we're just going to pick. I know that I want this center portion here to be red, even though on the box art, the studio art has got this all being gold. I feel like this would be more of a big leather flap in this ox blood leather that I'm going for, with the gold trim on the bottom of it, is the way that I'm envisioning this. Very careful, don't get your blue. This is the first of our color that's going to start framing that blue in, which is always nice. As we start putting color next to things we've already done, you'll see how that hue either comes alive. Maybe you find that you want to change it a little bit. Fun to highlight 80 million of those little squares. All right, it's also got like a gold piece up top, and I'm gonna go ahead and in between all of that, get mahogany as well. There's a section in between the belly where he's got this knot tied off and all of that thickness, and then up here, red leather as well. So there's all of this that goes right, like this hardened leather breastplate that's up underneath his chest armor. That is like the foundation for those plates that are hanging there. So we want to get all of that. Very careful not to intrude on our blue or our white hair. You can tell, right, going thin enough with the mahogany that you get that black still playing a part, right? The black still shows through enough because we're thin enough so we don't jump up into bright red. Mahogany does have enough of a red component that it can get out of hand quick. Now the question is, there is that thick detail right along the waist, right? There's this thick detail right along here that we either need to choose to do in the red or in a dark brown, and I think I'm going to choose dark brown on that. I do believe. Take a look at the box art and see what they did with it. It's on theirs, it's all part of this tie. They painted it as if it's all part of this big knotted thing, so I think we'll do the same. That makes some sense, actually. Like it's wrapped around from the starting in the front, then crosses in the back, and then comes back around the front to tie in the front. So it's like when I wrap my knuckles for boxing, it kind of goes around
let me
back
have
in
one
on
of those
itself.
Porno magazines, large box condoms.
Hey, somebody likes
bottle of
us.
Old Harper, a couple of those tansy shields, and some illegal fireworks. And
Trip
one of
diode,
those
what's going on?
disposable enemas. No, make it two.
Thank you for that follow. All right, so we want to get that part of the breastplate again that's up underneath here. These freaking arrows in the quiver. Why did I put this quiver on again? Somebody remind me. Right as I was gluing the quiver on Sunday's show when I was putting them together, I was like, I probably shouldn't put the quiver on. I don't really need that on there. I wanted the wings on because as we're going through and doing these kind of tutorials, I like to be able to show you the whole model and have people understand like why I'm doing things on the back the way that I am and so on and so forth, as opposed to not being able to see any of that. But the quiver, I was like, I could probably get away without having that on there, and man, has it been a pain in the ass. Just because of these arrow flights keeping me from getting in here the way I want to. Made me make any mistakes yet, but boy, we've been close. Right, on the back, a lot of that oxblood leather breastplate is showing as well. Again, just be very careful. Stipple in here with the mahogany as you need to around your hair that you just did. If we were smart, we would have done this cummerbund first. I say work from inside out, and actually it has so much that's under the hair. It probably would have been smart for us to have started with red and then done the hair afterwards, but whatever. I'm not a smart man. Nobody ever accused me of being the smart one. Welcome anybody out there if you're just joining us for the first time here. My name is Jason, also known as Slow Fuse. And what we are doing here is painting a Tengu Buzinbo model from the game Bushido. It is a feudal, an alternate kind of feudal Japanese historical game with enough mystic kind of aspect to it. But it's funny, it doesn't have any real magic in it, I don't believe. We're painting a big bird samurai, as you can see. And this is part of a series that we call our Paint-along series, and a lot of the people in chat are also painting this model at the same time, which is awesome. We got that going on. Fumes, what's going on? Welcome. Bingo, yeah, it's a sash. Right, and it looks like it's one like you would take it and apply it from the front, wrap it around, cross it over and behind you, then cinch it tight, and then tie the knot in the front. Is that sash? Belt? Cloth belt? I don't know. Whatever they call it. That's what it is. That's fine. All right, now the decision is, do we stop there? We have a choice to make here, I feel like. Right? We could stop with that being all of the oxblood leather there is, or we could carry it into these panels on the thigh. See, these panels on the thigh, the way that they're built, they've got this real blocky lower trim that I feel like wants to be metallic, right? I want that to be our non-metallic gold that we're going to be doing. We got non-metallic gold going down here. We got non-metallic gold going across the thigh. In some way, we have to choose. Does this whole plate look like it's gold? I guess it falls into what we do on the chest, too, right? Because the chest is kind of the same way. I almost feel like the whole plate has to be gold because of the way the chest plates are. They're almost identical in the way they're sculpted. They have the same rings that they hang from. They've got the same blocky bottom trim and a big flat face. Big flat face, blocky trim, rings that they suspend from. I feel like if we do these red, then it forces us into maybe wanting to do these red. Not that you have to do that, but maybe just by doing the red on the tabard here, we get away with enough. I just wanted to move away from everything being non-metallic gold. I feel like the box art's got a little bit too much gold pieces on it for my taste. Side of this tabard piece real quick. Okay, gold altogether. Yep. All right, cool. Cool. Oh, not silver. We would do them red. Yeah, like right now, if we do this whole plate gold, then the little ring we'll probably do as leather. Right? On these. My question was, do we do this plate on the front red as if it were leather, and then we do the gold trim and gold rings, right? That gives us some contrast built in, like we're doing here, right, on this deal in the front, right? Because we'll have it be red, make it look like it's heavy leather flapping down there, as opposed to a solid plate that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. When this guy walks, if that's a solid plate, his thighs are going to hate him, right? So I was thinking about doing these as leather plates that were hanging down with then gold weighted at the bottom and gold rings. Or do we do them all gold? Red leather and gold trim Drac. Hey, AK Prime, what's good? Good to see you. It's Moose, what's happening? This is a pewter model, it's Moose, white metal. And these are from a company called GCT Studios in England. And they are part of a game called Bushido. We will be playing the game live on Sunday, and we'll be playing it with the rest of the squad that he's got. There's like 5 models here that I've got to also paint up real quick to get them on the table. Small bird dude, right? Medium bird dude, big bird dude. The Tengu is this faction in Bushido. They also have some mountain men that are allies with them that are more human. I think they are just human. And then another bird that has lots of other birds sitting on top of him, because no bird can have too many birds, it appears. So I got to do that guy. So yeah, we've got those that will be playing our co-host Mike, Uncle Touchy, as he is known in chat. And I will be playing Sunday here at noon p.m. Pacific and 12 p.m. Pacific. Noon p.m. Is that time? But yeah, we paint all sorts of stuff. We paint everything from games like Infinity, like science fiction games, to fantasy games. Here's a deal where I was doing some airbrush tutorial one-on-one work with one of my students. And then, we paint, you name it, sci-fi, fantasy, Warhammer 40K, mechs. We just finished a mech that'll be a giveaway over on a channel called NG here on Twitch. So we did kind of a cool weathered, what's called a Timberwolf battle mech that we did. That one turned out really nice. I dig that one. But we paint a little bit of everything here. We go crazy. Have we tried Overwatch models? I don't know. I didn't know that they made unpainted Overwatch. I'll paint anything. I have not seen any unpainted Overwatch models. I've seen Overwatch figures that are already completed, but if there are some that aren't painted yet, that would be a lot of fun. Except, well, it would still be a lot of fun. I feel like I don't have as much fun painting things that everybody already knows what color they're supposed to be, like Superman. Right? It's like, okay, we'll paint Superman. But Superman already is an iconic thing that has an iconic color scheme and all that. So I tend to not paint things like that, but I feel like you could get away with it on Overwatch. But I haven't seen any Overwatch unpainted stuff. But there may be some out there. AK Prime, you're stuck in South Dakota for meetings and missed the first week of Paint-along? What? What? We've got a couple people dealing with that. Yeah, Casino, I'm the same way. I think I'm leaning towards we'll just do them as gold, right?
Hey, somebody likes us.
It's Moose. Thank you for the follow. Welcome. Good to have you. Yeah, that's kind of what, like a lot of these games that you'll see us paint, a lot of the miniatures that we paint on here, It's Moose, are things that don't have kind of, some of them do, not going to lie. Some of the games like Warhammer 40K have got characters that already have, like a long history of what their colors are. Okay, so you start with that color scheme, but you can change it up to kind of match. We just got done doing a miniature, a custom sculpt that was done by a sculptor here on Twitch named Joxel. That is Nina from a video game, anime, manga called Breath of Fire. And so we painted her with a really cool light effect on her because of the flame on her hand to make it look like it was burning, so it really lights her up. And we spent some time showing off how to do all of that technique. So she already had kind of a color scheme that was familiar, at least, even though this sculpt is a combination of, I think, 2 or 3 different Ninas from the range of video games. So we went through and picked like the darker purple wings from a later version, but the earlier version dress and the earlier version hair and all that. So I had to follow some rules for the client on this one just because of what he was looking for, but I got to play with it enough to make it my own. especially by doing the kind of the light, you know, the light from the fire kind of really gave it some punch and didn't really make it to where you cared so much about what the rest of the colors were. So, thank you. We do a little bit of everything on here. You never know what you're going to see here from day to day. I don't ever know what you're going to see here from day to day, so I know you don't know what you're going to see here from day to day. I have no idea what I'm doing most of the time. All right, so we're going to stick with gold plates on the chest, gold on the thighs, gold on the forearms. I feel like that's a good thing. The red breastplate, the red leather on the crotch panel, as it were, will be really all we have that is right now in the oxblood, because I don't want to do oxblood banding like the straps for the rest of the armbands. I want to do those in kind of a rich brown leather and not worry about the red. I feel like the red is kind of a statement, like, you know, lacquered leather, samurai plates. I really like that look, but I'm okay with the metal too. It's not like there's a tremendous amount. There's enough to piss Ray off as he's trying to paint it all, but I think we'll get through. I think we'll get through okay. All right, I want to right now go through and also put a base coat on for our non-metallics, because I feel like right now the one thing we're missing is we've still got a lot of black showing, and that will really, I think, help pull us through as we're going through our reds, is to just have the base coat down on the gold areas. So let's do that again real quick. That'll help drag some more color on here. BBC, it's the Kagekaze Zoku for Bushido. A new faction. Is that why they don't have a starter set? They are it's kind of like mercenaries. They're ninjas, right? The Kazezoku are the ninjas. And so they can be used in all the armies, but they also provide you with a faction on their own. So if you think about it in terms of other games, they're the mercenaries. So they don't have their own starter box because of that. Now, I think they're going to get one, question mark. I've heard tell, but I don't know if that's true. And I don't know that I would expect one, right? Because you might just build that army by buying the models you like to be mercenaries for your other armies. And they've all got different stories. So some of them are vagabonds, and some of them are actual ninjas, and that it's not a cohesive faction with a story necessarily. There's a lot of models that are involved in that that can show up in any of the factions and play on any of the teams. Ha, Maui Blood. All right, let's paint the red. Maui Blood said he already mixed the paint, so let's put the next layer of red on. We'll save Maui Blood some effort here. Then we're going to base our metallics, though, Maui. All right. It's there, you just can't see it. Telemika says it's there, you just can't see it. So I'm going to use Chaotic Red. If you've already blended your reds up, you can blend a little bit of purple into the mahogany and get a color very similar to what we're doing here. It is not very bright. It is not a real highlight color, I would say. It's also a shade color, but it's going to bring just enough of a lighter red onto it, right, that we should be able to get some mileage out of this. Because our first layer, if you did it well, is going to be tinted with that black from underneath, right? So I just want to start very lightly on these top sections. And again, like we do all the time, just grab like the high points. This is not going to stand out as much, so you can be a little bit more heavy-handed with it, I want to say. Here along the rib cage, I just want to pick the high spots. We're working thin enough. Kind of lightly blend it in with the mahogany. Leave the mahogany around the edges. Like, don't push this color into the edges around any of the other armor panels. You want to leave that darkness, giving us the shadows underneath the rib. Like, I'm not going to push paint up underneath the rib here, and I'm not going to push it all the way over to the panel. I'm going to leave about a brush width between there. It's going to be really hard for you guys to see this, most likely. Let's turn the light up a little bit now. Maybe favor over towards blue as well. See if that helps. A little bit. All right, so the goal is to make sure that you leave yourself a gap of shadow right along the armor where it layers over this piece. and underneath the ribs. And so you start seeing those details picking out. You see I've got that shadow underneath the rib, underneath the breast, and then right along the edge of those plates. And you can start faintly seeing how this brighter red is falling over the darker red. Make sure I don't have much paint on my brush, and then come in and work from the back towards the front. I want to pull paint from the shadow out towards the front of the ribs here. Always stopping short of this area where that plate lays over it, like I said. Shoot a little bit right down in here, but not much. Bingo. Really simple, and notice how we get that kind of lighter red glow, but it doesn't overtake. See, it's almost like an iridescence, right? There's so little on there. But you can see it right there. You can see it really nicely. Right there, it really glows. But then we just kind of push it into obscurity back behind the shadows. That. Get a good shadow in the back, and then eventually it just kind of fades out into this lighter, brighter red. Because when you're going for oxblood, it is a very deep color. It's a fight between brown and red the whole time you look at it. And sometimes, like, its shadows want to appear like almost a chocolatey brown, right? And you struggle to find the red in the shadows. And that's what we're seeing here. Like down here by the hair, right back underneath the bow and everything, you struggle to see the red in that mahogany because of how bright the red gets out in front of it. And also plays really well again with that purple that we layered in over the blue, because the reds, as we move into the oxblood tend to have a little bit more purple hue to them. It even said in that definition, oxblood is like your reds, your browns, and your purples all working together. And let's grab a little bit right under here. We won't want, again, to push color into the edges. We just want it floating in the middle of this kind of arrowhead shape formed in the armor plate. Surrounding it, we leave a little bit of shadow to each side and top and bottom. So that again, we just get red peeking in that spot right down there. And look at the difference between the mahogany and then when we layer the red on top of it. Right? The pure mahogany has much more of a brown, almost an orangey glow to it on that. Get the side of the breastplate over here where it peeks out. Again, not too much. We want to leave shadow in there. There's not a whole lot showing in this section. Right. See how you can see that shadow, and the shadow is formed by not putting more paint there. It's literally that easy. A lot of people tend to think that, okay, I'm going to paint the shadows on. No, it's easier if you work dark and then just don't put paint over that dark spot. It becomes a shadow. The whole model's dark to start with. The whole model's black when we start. And then as we layer up, we just don't push paint into certain areas. And then you retain those shadows. And you don't have to worry about going back later and figuring out where to paint them on. So I know I say that a million times, but it's just too easy. Red in these areas in between. Dunk on the tip of the brush like you would not believe. Wow. What the hell is going on there? Cat hair. I don't even have cats. All right, now the fun part it's up to you to decide how you want to do the midsection piece here, this crotch plate, right? Tabard, leather tabard area. Because the sculpt isn't necessarily deep enough here to be able to use the side of the brush trick. It's too shallow with the lines that are engraved on it. So you're going to have to come in and paint each of these squares. Or, well, no, you're going to have to paint each of these squares. There is no or. It's not up to you. I lied. Right? You're going to have to just come in and with a stippling effect, start painting each of these squares and leave yourself about a brush width at the bottom of each of them that you don't put color on. All right? Yes, I know. It's frustrating. Yell at me later. You'll be happy at the end of the day. Again, I'm using a stippling effect. I'm just poking the brush at the model so that I fill the area with color, leaving the bottom edge without anything on it. You can see right there. See how it's shiny at the top of each of the squares and dull at the bottom? The dullness is where I'm not putting paint, and then I'm putting the shininess up top. See these bottom two rows? That's what you want. You don't want any paint to get into the areas in between. Kind of goes without saying. We want that to stay shaded. So we got to be pretty careful and not get paint in between the squares, which I'm probably not using the right brush. I'm still using my number 2. So feel free to change to a smaller brush if you're a smart person. Got to kind of hold your breath for some of this. Sorry if I'm not talking a lot while I do this. Concentration. Concentration. No loud noises. Best thing is that because we work so thin, you got to come do it again. This is where you'll be like, Fuse, why can't you paint like a normal person? Why can't you just use thick paint? Because then you'd only have to paint your models like one time. I mean, come on, right? The reality is we love painting so much, we want to paint everything like 2 or 3 times. So stop your bitching. Just do it. Jeez, you whiny babies. I think I just had that whole conversation by myself. Jen laughs at me for that. She's like, are you talking to me? I was like, no, I think I was talking to myself. She's like, that was like 15 minutes of conversation. I was like, yeah, I can't get myself to understand. I just won't listen. So I got to argue. All right, bingo. Now, notice how we've got that nice reddish, but I still maintain that you can see the mahogany, see the kind of orangish glow that's now only happening in between the panels, really. Right? And that'll be our shadow. And as we start lightening up, it'll even become more and more apparent. So a little bit of a hassle when you paint like that. If you think that's a hassle, wait until we paint the wings. Everybody's going to be absent and sick that day. Going to get a lot of people calling in sick. Oh, sorry, teach, can't make it to class. Gotta not feeling so good today. Can the next paint-along be Godzilla? No. Like a 1-to-1 life-size scale Godzilla? Maybe. BBC, is it strange to say painting isn't as much about how to paint, but a way to think? I definitely tend to teach from a perspective of painting is about what we said yesterday, taking the perception of the world around you and altering it to fit the story you're trying to tell. And then that's the main part of it, is the idea of it. Why? And then the how comes from, needing to figure out visualizing the why, right? So if I want to paint leather on a thing that isn't made out of leather, how do you do that is all based on, why leather looks the way it does, in certain situations and such. And then you take the how, the different techniques that you learn. And so I would say it's kind of more of a 50-50, right? Because painting is a lot about technique. If you have zero technique, you can have all the vision in the world and never be able to apply it. I know lots of artists that are like this, that are better at telling the story they want to see than giving you a visual representation of the story, because they just don't have the techniques to get it out of their head and onto a medium that people can visualize. So there's that, right? Then there's people who are good at both, right? And then there's people that are great at technique but can't visualize at all. I know some tattoo artists who cannot for the life of them draw anything from scratch, from their head. But they can trace stuff like nobody's business, and they're great at technique of putting ink into skin. And they just nail it and do beautiful tattoos, but don't ever ask them to draw anything. And I'm always like, that's really weird to me, because I visualize it and then teach myself how to make it real, is how I've always been. But there's all ends of the spectrum, so just remember that, right? It just, some things may not click for you that you hear other people talking about really working well, and so you may have to find a technique that makes it, kind of explains it and makes it live for you. I think vision and technique make the difference between craftsmen and artists. Sometimes, yeah, I guess that might be a way to say it. Although I don't know that craftsmen and artists are different, right? We can argue about the semantics of it, but I feel like that's kind of the thing, right? You can still be an artist. Some artists can't turn it into visual art, right? But, poets, authors, people, those are artists, right? They take a vision and make it into words. Those words don't represent the vision immediately. Like I look and I'm like, yeah, it's letters on a piece of paper, but when you read them, you see the vision, right? It calls it up in your brain as if you're looking at a painting. So, and their techniques are much different than my techniques, right? If you talk to Haspel, writing a book is a lot different than painting a painting, but the end is the same. So it's just different techniques to take that part of thinking and attributing it into a visual sensation or a visceral sensation for those people that choose to look, read, listen, those kinds of things. Some people are great storytellers but can't write to save their lives. They don't have the technique to write down, but they can talk to you about it. They can tell you their story, and visually you hear it and you're like, oh my God, that's fantastic. How come you haven't written that book? And then they go type for a few days and can't do it. And it's like, okay, I just don't have that technique. I don't have the patience. I don't have what it takes to do that, to that, to that. But I'll tell you this story I have, and you write it for me, and we'll split the money. That kind of stuff. So you get it. I mean, everybody's different, and their way of listening, telling, visualizing is always going to be the same way. All right, so our reds. We got 2 layers of red on now. I'm going to stop there, and we're going to base coat for the golds like I wanted to do before freaking Maui Blood said nope. I want to base these golds because it's going to be important before we take the reds up too bright to know what's sitting next to them, right? And for our golds, we're going to start with burnt umber, I believe. Burnt umber, right? So burnt umber and mahogany, very, very similar. They're almost the same base. If you can imagine, mahogany is really like burnt umber with some red in it. It's kind of what it is, right? You suck at writing but can explain things so your friends see things in their minds they don't want. I don't know if that's a good thing, but yes, exactly. Maui Blood, take a bow. Take a bow. I'd like to thank my parents, the Academy. Ray Silver, you don't bitch. You did a lot of bitching that last time, but not lately. Houdini, your model didn't come with wings? Good God, who's closing my paint jars? Jen doing this? Closing my paint jar so tight I can't open them without, like, a freaking assist. I need an assist from the crowd. Need somebody to come in here and open my paints for me. I'm weak and old. All right, so here we're literally just going to work thin, just like we did with the mahogany base coat, thin with the burnt umber, and layer it on everything you want gold. And you'll notice that you'll have more of a brownish orange than a brownish red. These colors play really, really well together. Make sure you get the underside, everything that is going to be gold. The sides, the underneath, along the edges. If the edges get real thin, you can leave them with just the black base coat. That actually gives you a really good shadow, but in most cases you want to try to put a little bit of paint along the edge there. Again, we're just going for even. Base coating is nice because it kind of takes the thinking out to some extent. Not 100%. You still got to stay inside the lines, right? But it allows you to just kind of go brain dead and paint. As opposed to painting a million feathers and having to pay attention to each and every one for like 3 colors of highlights. Right, but even having just that little bit of brown on there is going to help us with choosing how we push our reds. Trust me. Having black on a model when you're trying to do reds is tough. Your reds typically don't go bright enough. And which sounds funny because here we're trying to do very dull reds anyway. So, you know, it might help you to have the black on there. But I tend to say no because even dull red can be too dull, right? And the blue doesn't help as much as you think. So just having even this brown burnt umber quality on the gold around it is going to help us as we determine how bright to push our reds. And sometimes it's not really right out at the forefront. You know, it might be more of a subliminal happening that's going on. I don't know how to describe it. I just know that if I paint a model and I start painting things that should be bright, where sitting next to them there's a lot of black primer, that I'm not going to be as happy, right? Because the black is so neutral and so dark, its value is as dark as you're going to get on the model, right? That you try to highlight something next to it and it looks so bright and you're like, oh, I don't want to go any brighter. And then you start painting whatever color is supposed to be on that black primer, and all of a sudden the stuff you painted before is not bright at all. And you have to be like, ah, wah, wah, wah. Burnt mahogany. Never burn your mahogany. It's a bad thing. I feel like that's a bad thing. Don't burn the mahogany. Yeah, if you ever get stuck and you don't have mahogany, which shame on you if you don't have mahogany. I don't understand what you're doing in the first place. But if you ever get stuck and don't have mahogany, but you have burnt umber, you can always take your burnt umber, add a little red to it, and you will get something similar. The burnt umber does start with a little bit more of an orangish tone to it. So be careful as you're mixing. But it works pretty well. Chest plates. You get kind of an orangish glow to everything that has the burnt umber on it. We got a little bit of that from the mahogany. So I say they're very similar. The burnt umber just is minus the red. Oh my god, we've got a dog visiting here. We showed you Soda, right? Soda is Cassie, Sandra. That's Jen's cousin that lives in town. And Soda is Cassie's dog. That little shit came in here and pissed in my studio. Right where I work. Like literally right on the carpet beneath where I paint in my studio. Peed all over the carpet here. And I didn't notice it. I noticed at the end of the night last night as I was going to bed. I was like, as I got up to walk towards the door of the studio, because the computer that I do all my artwork on, and all of the video editing and stuff like that is in a different location. It's not sitting right here where I'm sitting and painting right now. It's over there. And so as I got up from that one and was moving towards the door, I smelled something, and I was like, that doesn't smell right. I was like, whatever. And so I freaking went to bed and woke up this morning. I'm like, that freaking dog pissed right at my workstation. Snipe, what's going on? Eldrick Necro, thank you for the sub. 19 of 20 subs. One more new sub, and we got a giveaway to do today. Uno mas. And we take a spin on the wheel for some lucky viewer. That's it. Let's get some hype in chat. Uno mas. Then we can reset the clock and we can do it all over again. All right, so yeah, see, that's helping. That's getting some value on here, even though it's very, very dark. But it's helping direct me with how I want to do my red versus my blue, just to have the burnt umber on there. And I'm liking that. Let's go ahead while we're at it, since we have the umber here. Let's go ahead and get the arm plates and the shin plates. He's got both arm and leg stuff. This will be gold. Right? Remember that what we're doing right now is setting up the non-metallic golds that we are going to do. We're going to do a little different workup for gold than what you may be used to seeing me do. Remember the other day we did some non-metallic gold on a very small location on the Relic Blade models that started with greens, if you remember. We're going to be using greens, but we're going to be coming up with greens off of the burnt umber and our golden browns and the other browns and yellows that we use, because we do want this gold to be a little bit more like real gold feeling, as opposed to like some of our regular workup for non-metallic gold includes like a little bit of an orangish tone. And where? Give it to me, brush. Got a little bit of umber right on the cuff of his sleeve there, so I don't want that stick. A lot of times we'll use like a little bit more orange, just like our Parasite Brown, things like that, if we move into bronzes like we did on the Arena Rex stuff. And that's great. It looks really cool, but it doesn't give you the feel necessarily of like a regular like gold. Like if you really had gold that you dug out of the ground and made armor out of for whatever reason. Kind of not the way it would really look. Is that 20? Holy hell, Belzaro! Thank you, Belzaro. All right, some hype in chat. Everybody, I want some hugs and handies in chat. Some hype, some bomb snail hearts, everything you got. Let's show these people that have shown us the support today. Let's show them the love back from the community, including those of you who are now enjoying your new emotes, for joining the family. Thank you guys so much for the continued support and for the new support as well. We will be doing a giveaway. Belzaro has guaranteed that somebody is going to walk out of here with a gift certificate over to the store. That's going to happen. You don't have a choice in the matter. Well, you do have a choice. Like, you don't have to win the thing. Like, if you win, you don't have to take it. But somebody's going to win. It has been decreed. I had this elbow plate thing. Yep, exclamation point booty in chat. You see what it says down below. I'll put the booty heart up there. Anytime you see the booty heart up in the far corner up there, it means that there is a giveaway triggered and that you should be doing exclamation point booty in the chat. You have to be a follower, but that's all you got to be to win. Okay? Follow the channel. Make sure you're here. Don't go following and then type in booty and then go run off someplace. If you're not here when we do the drawing, we will draw somebody else. And we will be giving away either a spin on the wheel or a pick from the wall, all of which include anywhere from $25 to $100. That's right, $100 gift certificates are up there too. You can get all sorts of stuff for that. You can get a custom trucker hat from me. I do custom artwork on these hats that you see all these guys wearing on the internet. We've done some fun ones here lately. I got a couple more that I got to finish up tomorrow, as a matter of fact, that have been a lot of fun. Remember on this guy that his hand, the top of his hand, has got a little gold plate creeping out of the sleeve. So if you're painting this at home, which this is a paint-along, guys, so if you're new here, there are about 20 viewers who bought this model from us that are painting it along with us. And right before the end of the show, we're going to go take a look at their progress as well. Although we haven't really done anything for progress since then, but I'll go take another look at whip, just in case. If you're working on anything having to do with the hobby, building some terrain, building some models, painting some stuff, type exclamation point whip in chat. We will be taking one more look today where we go through and look at what you guys are working on. If you got any questions or comments or things you want to ask or whatever's going on with your models, just feel free to put it in the description section of your upload. The link will take you over to slowfusegaming.com, our website. You do have to register over there in order to be able to upload, but it's real simple. And we promise not to spam you. Oh, we didn't do the red on the back, did we? Didn't do that real quick. All right. This is all we're going to do on the gold. For right now. Oh, wait, the shins. Dang it, Fuse. You keep forgetting. It's easy to forget that he's got these gold plates down here on his legs. Is the bottom of the belt under the sash going to be gold or red or brown or green or what? The bottom of the belt under the sash. This thing is going to be gold, so I guess we ought to get it too, huh? This thing right here, we're going to do it in gold. I don't know why, but it feels like it's gold. It's like a gold belt. Because it doesn't have any other texture or folds to it. It's all straight and flat, so I'm going to call it metal. A big metal band that goes around his waist. Call Ray. Ray, looking out for us there. For all of those painting. Hashtag blame Ray. We're finding more gold stuff to be non-metallic metal. Winning friends and influencing people's. Nix, thank you so much for the bits. Thanks for the bits. This bit that goes all the way around his waist. We just want to make sure we get that with the umber right now. Nothing else that'll remind me what it's supposed to be as I paint the next color. Derp. Not so good with the remembers. All right. Back to doing these leg plates. Top section, but just make sure. Never hurts to have a little bit more on there. Can I get a Maui from Moana emote that says you're welcome? No. No. No, you can't. Stop asking. Grins, your power just came back on after going out for an hour? Oh, shit, Grins, that sucks, man. You've been quiet. I was like, Grins is being quiet today. Sorry to hear your power went out, man. Storms or just, like, idiocy or what? When our power goes out, it's generally bad drivers. Not gonna lie. I don't know that I can ever say that there was a storm outage for us here. There have been lots of bad driver outages. Ah! One not too long ago, as a matter of fact. I wasn't home for it. Where was I? I forget where I was. But Jen was stuck here, and I was out doing something else. And she was supposed to go out with some friends of hers on that day. And she couldn't, because they were supposed to be getting ready. Oh, it was during the latest Infinity tournament. That's what it was. We had the Arizona Armageddon here, and during the tournament, I was off playing. And on a Saturday and Sunday, was it, I think? Yeah, Saturday and Sunday we were off playing in the tournament. And on one of those days, she was supposed to go out with some friends. And some idiot drove their car into, like, the main power distribution block for, like, this 2-mile section of area here in town. And everybody was out without power for, like, 6 hours. The tournament we were gone for like 10 hours that day. And she had just gotten power on like a couple hours before we got home from the tournament. And Jen will not leave the house to go do social things if she doesn't have her bathroom time to get ready. Like, she just won't do it, right? Telemachus, it's a giant anthropomorphic bird. Disbelief has already been suspended. Ooh, somebody asking about bowstrings again? Windstorms in central Saskatchewan. You're just making words up. Central Saskatchewan. I feel like that's just you throwing letters together. Canuckistan. And I'm sure science and its gene fiddling could do the same, at least if not in their future. Yeah, probably. But a magic bow? What? It is. It's a magic bow, man. It doesn't need a bowstring. It's magic. Magic! Belzaro says, wait, there's no bowstring? Unsub. Man. Magic bows don't need bowstrings, man. They have a weird magical field that you just throw the arrow on there and it just freaking flings that thing, man. You just need to believe. Everybody thinks Saskatchewan is made up. I can't think it was made up because I've been there. I've been there. Flaming bowstring. We could do that, Scientologists. We could make like a flaming bowstring. People are on my butt to make a bowstring. I just don't want to do it. I'm not gonna lie, I just don't want to. I feel like that's one of those things that it's hard to do because the bow doesn't come with the string thought out on it, right? It doesn't have a connection point for it. It doesn't have any kind of anything, right? And if you wrap a string around it, I don't know. Feel like that's a thing to do at the end if we decide that's a deal. Maybe I'll surprise you. Maybe. You've read a story about a great archer that even need a bow and arrow? They don't even need a bow and arrow. I think the whole thing's for show. 10-pound test fishing line on your Stormcast and painted them gold? Yeah, it's still too big, though. It's still just too big, right? Bowstring just isn't that big. Although on this guy, maybe because of scale. I don't know. I feel like it's too much. It never looks real. Thread works really well, right? If you lay out thread and like very, very thin thread because it has kind of a ropey texture to it. If you can get it to stiffen without losing the texture, that works really well. White glue watered down and lots of layers will stiffen it up. You know, so that works okay. It's still plastic, though, Drac. Baler twine. It fixes everything, Grins. Yeah, that's kind of big too. Jesus. Suspend thread on a paper clip and super glue it. Yeah, exactly, Ray. Except the super glue gets rid of the texture, unfortunately. So I tend to use white glue with water because it'll soak into the thread on the string a little bit. So then, oh, and you say it doesn't lose its texture? It always loses its texture when I do it with super glue. Maybe I'm using too much. I'm probably using the gel stuff because I use the thick, heavy, high-impact stuff from Gorilla. I don't keep any of the liquidy stuff around. Yeah, I just don't like doing it, man. Not gonna lie. Bows don't need strings. It's magical bows. It's a big bird, for crying out loud. You people. You freaking people. Making my life hard. All right, what time is it? It is 5:09. It's about time to turn it over to Keyline Prime. I feel like we got a lot done today. We did the skin, the hair. We got the highlights done on the top of the blue. And then we moved on and got the red and the gold based. What we'll be working on Friday, our next stream where we paint, is doing the gold armor. So all the armor bits that we've just started doing today, I think we're going to come right out of the gates and focus on that. Get that really loaded in, because as I'm looking at it now, I like where the reds are at as far as how deep they are, and I think I want to see the golds all the way before we move on to bringing the reds up any brighter. I feel like that's the best plan. And yeah, I think that's what we'll start with on Friday. We'll bust out the non-metallics, so get your thinking caps on. That's some of the stuff that has people the most frantic about generally, is if you haven't done non-metallic metal before. It's a great process. It's something that not everybody is comfortable learning, but we will do it in a way, I guarantee you, that you will start to get it. Do I even have a whole lot around here that I can show you about non-metallics? Anything from like our Wolf Bro, right, where all of his armor is painted in non-metallic. There's no metallic paints on him, but yet we get the feel of metal, so to speak, on his armor. The metallic on the beaten copper shoulder pad on this guy. Blah, 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 blah. There's probably a million of them around here. I'm just not seeing them. We got the other Wolf Bro, the blades, right? His kind of sword blade that we've got happening there. Right, so all of these are different. These were all different methods of kind of achieving the same goal. And so this is what we're going to be doing on Friday, is dealing with that gold armor, bringing it in with some greens, and we're not going to be using the parasite browns that you see me use a lot of, like these coppery colors that I love so much. We're going to go into true golds. I don't have the miniature that I showed. I think he's in the other room still. But yeah, we don't have the other guy here, I don't believe. But, you know, we went in and did like our bronzy kind of non-metallics on our Arena Rex guys, you know, that were a little more into yellow. We're going to trend even more into yellow gold than these guys did with everything that we're doing on Friday. So that should be fun, and once we get that done, the rest of the details should speed along. And then we're shooting for wings on Tuesday. So prep for all of that. If you've got some catching up to do, you got plenty of time by Friday. Expect everybody to have their homework finished. I love saying that. Even though there's not really homework, but I love saying, do your homework. Do your freaking homework, you strange kids. You silly kids. You gave up on Age of Sigmar? Just from a game playing perspective, is that it? Big Bob, all those models will get given away at some point. I just have to finish them, actually. Drac, like Big Bird? Like yellow Big Bird? That would be kind of funny.
Hey, somebody likes us.
Actually. Southern Sadist. Thank you for that follow. Ray Silver, BVC wanted me to show the purple consistency. BVC, what do you mean by purple consistency? And remember, exclamation point booty in chat. We're about to do a giveaway as well, and then we're going to take a look at some whip. Actually, we'll take a look at some whip right now while everybody lets me know what that means, purple consistency. Godzilla-like Big Bird? Wait a second. What are we talking about here? What is homework? What? Say what? All right, all right. Ooh, I see Ghost is a Silvernail throwing stuff up in here. I see that too. I think we start here. Silvernail, test colors. What is this model? Do I know this model? I don't know this model. Is this some sort of dark elf thing? Green and gold and white, you can't go wrong. Not mad at that. Drac79, hell yeah, because it give you something to give him a hard time because he got killed by a big yellow bird. He's probably going to murder my face. He's done playing with me now. He's done losing. So now he's building armies that are all about smash face. So he's probably going to kill me. Maui Blood, how thin we went on the purple for the glaze. Oh, okay. Yeah, let's do that real quick. Let me pull out of this real quick, and I will show you. Bam. Let's show the consistency for the purple for the glaze for BVC. So as you're glazing on the blues, and what he's talking about, for those of you that weren't here yesterday maybe, is if you take a look at the bird that we're painting, you'll notice that on the blues, in the shadows, we have a little tinge of purple coming out. Not too much, right? It doesn't overtake the blue, but it just gives a little bit of a hue shift and a little bit of color intrusion there to give us a cool look and to keep the blues, you know, a little bit more interesting, I guess is a really good word. All right. So let's go. This is my spot for purple. We'll just take a small drop. Again, I was using royal purple from Game Color, but whatever purple you're doing. BVC, I think, was mixing his own now. Now, the key is take the brush. It's loaded with water, if you can see that, right? Look at how wet my brush is. Tons and tons of water on my brush. And then I'm taking it out and basically using it like this.
Hey, somebody likes us.
About like that. Okay. Rosarius, welcome. Thank you for that follow. About like this, right? So it's dirty water. Like if I push it around, right, my spot is, I guess, a little coherent, but it's pretty wet. Maybe a little bit more water. Yeah, there we go. Now we're talking. All right. So watch, like I say, the test is always take your brush, move the paint side to side. Notice how when it gets over to the side, it just bleeds right back. I don't get a small dot of paint anymore, right? It just bleeds right back into the tail of water. So it's literally just dirty water that I'm messing with right here. This is like, it's thinner than watercolor right now. Right? That's what I'm glazing onto my blues with, is this dirty water glaze right here. Compared to if you paint straight from the drop, that's what you get right there. So notice what a big difference the same paint can do and everything in between, right? That's it. Because you don't want that purple to jump off of the blue. You want it to literally just tint it. Just a little bit of a purple filter on those shadows. That's all you're looking for. If you go any darker than that, then it starts to look like paint on paint, and that's not what the goal of that purple is. Okay? All right, back to whip. Silvernail. I dig these colors. I'm assuming the gray is not the real color of the skin, or is it? I'm assuming that's just your primer. But I'm digging the green and the gold and the white for sure. Also Silvernail. Silvernail has 8 million of these models that are like, last time I checked, all of these things are like $60 a piece. Independently wealthy and likes anime girls. That's Silvernail's biography. This looks great, by the way. Love the eyes. Telemachus, hotel room whip. What? He's working, he's away for work, and he's still building models in his hotel room. Telemachus, doing hard work, and I have remembered your name, I think, almost every time. Almost every time. He told me today I've been pronouncing his name wrong for like 18 months. Damn me! Skin's gonna be black? I dig it. I don't even know what this is, Telemachus, but I like it already. I feel like I've seen this. I feel like maybe this is a Privateer Press, like, con special or a Christmas thing, I think. Horde, yeah, Horde special character, I think. Yeah, I think it's a Privateer Press special, like, con special thing. She's like one of the Gator minion things. Blindwater Brew Witch, that's what it is. Yep. I dig it. Silvernail. Yep, we've seen these. I remember these. With the celestial stuff in the background. Is this part of the model that they go on? I assume. I can dig it. I think you added the planet since last I saw this. Because I was saying that I love the stuff that you're attempting here with the nebula effect and the stars and the nebula and everything. I was saying I wanted to see it kind of extend out and give me like stars in the black, so the black isn't so one-dimensional on here. But I think you had an answer for me. Like I think you said there was some special effect that you were going for. I feel like these look landlocked because you don't have like the star field in the black background, right? But the effect is cool. Ray Silver, any advice so far? I like it. I'm digging the orange. You've got some really good deepness to the orange in the, you know, in the whatever you call this, the seams, the veining of the pumpkin. I like that. I feel like with your yellow, you're trapping yourself by starting so bright with your base coat. Like I normally on this would have gone with like a yellow ochre or even a golden brown first to give yourself some shading down in there. You're not going to want the shade for much other than around the edges, but I don't know how much brighter you can go from here before you get to white. That would be my only thing. It may be small enough that it's not that big of a problem. I dig it. I love these miniatures. They're so fun. Ah, speaking of fun, he's doing them like freaking Pac-Man. How great is this? Yeah, I think black around the edges and then the eyeball itself, because it does have a sculpted ball in there, like a sphere. That could work too. Yeah, that could definitely work. I like these. You can see your pre-highlight really working on the pink one for sure. The red is showing up too. I'm digging them. Green glow like on the pinky all over, or just in the eyes, and do darker gray blacks for the rest. Can't decide if I want to do green glow like on pinky all over, or just in the eyes and do darker gray blacks for the rest. What? Why are we talking about gray black? I don't understand, Ray. If you want to do the green glow everywhere, like out of the mouth and everything? I'm not following. I feel like this would look good with the green glow coming from inside and just do slight OSL coming out, you know, like a little bit of glow around the edges. Where the green is, do you want to do it all glowing or just glowing eyes and black out the rest? Oh, just like we were just talking about with the other one. That's up to you. Both would be neat. Now that you say that, though, I think blacking out these areas would be good, and then glow the eyes green, because then when you do the edging, it'll really, really stand out. Yeah, I feel like that's probably your better bet. Just because the model's small. I would probably do that. Black it out, just keep the spheres of the eyes like we talked about on the pumpkin just a minute ago. Drago, flayed ones in fail cast. Oh, fine cast. for Necrons. Still lots of work to do, but you're really happy with the flesh right now. This is looking really good. Look at this. Yeah. I like that a lot. I like what I can see on this one, too. I like that you kept it kind of like dry. Well, maybe not dry, but it's not all bloody, right? Like almost like a dried pelt as opposed to, you know, like a massacred skinning job or something like that. I like it. Maui blood, mahogany, wasteland soil, and some Mephiston red. It works, man. You got it. You nailed it. Exactly what we were looking for. Right? Dark, deep red. Really nice. Really nice here. This is perfect. Absolutely perfect. We could be staring at the model I'm painting right now for all I know. Great job. Houdini 7, same thing, man. Great job. Right? The reds are really working. You guys have nailed it. See, you've just got that glow as it comes out on the top of the ribs, just the underside of the pec indentation that they've got there, and then it dips back down into, you know, nice, rich shadow. Same thing up here. I can still see all the lines in between here. That's only going to pop more as we get brighter with our reds, because we will go one stage brighter. We're just going to hold off until we do some of the golds. I feel like that's the right thing to do right now. Great job. Blue's looking good. Gray hair. I like it. I like it. The hair could probably go a little bit lighter even. May just be the camera, though. Ray Silver didn't have Vampire Red. I don't think it matters, man. Your red looks good as it is. You can do just regular red. Doesn't even matter. Right? You can do the same thing. You just add less red to your mahogany. You go mahogany, like 60-40 mahogany to red, like real red. And then you go like 40-60 mahogany to red. You just don't trend to 100% red, and you'll get the same feature. It just won't have as much of that kind of purple to it, but it'll still look fantastic. So, yep, really good. We forgot to do this part back here. I'll have to do that. You guys do that before Friday. I'll do mine. You do yours. I didn't do that cummerbund rear shot. Yeah, all of you guys are nailing it. Looking really good. This is going to be a great model. Super, super stoked. Good stuffs. All right. Let's do a giveaway. What say y'all, y'all? All y'all. Only 51 people entered in this thing. Are you kidding me? Seriously? 51? Exclamation point booty. Get in on it. Free stuffs. Although the people that are already entered into it are probably not. Refresh? Yeah, I'll do a refresh, Sev. I'll go back and refresh. I'll refresh now to remind myself, and then we'll go back and take another look after we've done the giveaway. I want to do the giveaway because people might be waiting to go watch Key. I don't want to steal too much of Key's time. And we got a couple more up here, too. Yep. Very nice. Very nice. There. And two more. All right, cool. Yep, exclamation point booty. I knew there were people out there hiding out that weren't paying attention. We're going to do the drum roll, and then we're going to pick a winner. We got one winner coming out. This is because of hitting our 20 of 20 new subs mark. We will reset that tomorrow and start the counter again. Remember, every 20 new subs, doesn't matter when it happens, every 20 new subs, we do a giveaway, as well as every 50 bucks you guys donate to the channel, and every 5,000 bits that hit. So all sorts of ways to generate stuff that give back. Thank you guys so much. Telemachus, damn it! Because you won last night. Damn it. I was being so good with the name thing. Telemachus. Darn. All you got to do is make sure you're following and be here when I hit the win button. Here comes the drum roll. Everybody ready? Let's make this happen. The real science.
Hey, somebody likes us.
Astrophysics, what is happening? Thank you for that follow. Real science,
hey,
congratulations.
Somebody likes us.
Nerve win, what is going on? Thank you for the follow. Welcome. The real science, didn't you just win? Like just the other night? Isn't this a thing? Did you just win? Like a day or two ago? feel like. Yeah, hashtag rigged. I agree. Rigged. Yeah, didn't you just win like on Friday? Oh, you know what? No, we have the real science and then we have for science. And they both are very close because I think for science is for science 85, believe it or not. I literally think we have, there it is. It is. It's for science 1985 and real science 86. How crazy is that? That's what I was thinking. I was like, there's something off. Like, I think we're one number off. Congratulations, real science. You know the drill. You've won here before. I don't know how long ago it was, but you've won here before, so you know the drill. You know what's about to happen, right? For anybody else that's new here, protect your loved ones. Kick them out of the room because we do a little thing here called the awkward man stare. Oh, yes. You thought you were safe. And safety might be a word you could use, but you might just have to expand your definition of safety. Oh yeah. First win of the night, he gets the wink. Real science, what's it going to be, my friend? Would you like the wheel or the wall? You got to pick. You got to pick. You got to pick. The safe word, nachos. We don't have a safe word here. But nachos sound good. Not going to lie. I had cold pizza for lunch, and I'm thinking I might take myself out for dinner. I have worked my tush off today. Literally. Oh, real science wants the wall. He's feeling it. All right. We haven't had a wall in a while. I feel like that's a good one. I feel like we can make this happen. All right. Let's do it. Here comes El Wallerino. All right. And real science, I feel like today is a number 2 day. I don't even have to use the bathroom and that just came out of my mouth. I feel like today's a number 2. I feel like we've got this slightly used, it was owned by a very old lady. Like, little old lady, barely put any miles on it at all. It's a cream puff. Cream puff. No, you don't need to see the Carfax. Come on, nobody uses that stuff anymore. Nobody uses that. You're feeling 8. 8? Over number 2? I can't keep a straight face because this is like a poo-poo joke. It's like a poop joke happening. It's like literally we have a poop joke occurring without even expecting it to be a poop joke. It doesn't get any better than this. And you want number 8? All right. He's feeling number 8, crowd. He's staying away from number 2. He's a little backed up. I feel like you need some roughage, my friend. A little bit of fiber in your diet. It's like 4 2s. 8 is like 4 number 2s. Well, maybe you don't need fiber in your diet then. All right, number 8, here we go. Closing my eyes, stealing all my money. 25 buccarinos, my friend. 25 bucks. Somebody click exclamation point winner in chat for the real science. Real science, make sure you go fill it out again. Give us your email address, which you may not have done in July when you won. But make sure you go fill out your email address on the winner form again. And then we will be able to email you out your gift certificate. Use it as you wish over at the store, and you can use it at your leisure. They do not expire. So if you want to save it up, if you want to use it, wait for a sale, wait for new products, wait for brushes being back in stock, because that's going to be a thing here pretty soon. Up to you, my friend. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody that makes these giveaways possible. It is awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, our little family, with all the new subs we got today. Hell, I think we got, what did we get? We got like 7 or 8 new subs today. Freaking awesome. Thank you guys so much for showing the support. Thanks for hanging out with us. We will be back again on Friday, same bat time. We start, oh no, that's actually wrong. Friday we start at 5 p.m. We follow Kenny on Fridays. All right. So there's a spyware link. What? This guy again? I feel like you need to not, like, do these things, right? Like, I feel like this is a infinite ban. Skapow. I feel like that's that guy again. We don't do that. Sorry. We have an amazing community here, and there's, like, every now and then one of those. So we don't put up with that. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Like I said, we'll be back on Friday at 5 p.m. following Kenny at Next Level Painting, where we will be going in and diving into the non-metallic metal. Remember, our color scheme for our non-metallic metal is the burnt umber that we already used, golden browns, yellow ochres, yellow RLM, some golden yellow, some green. Yeah, we're going to be doing some green on our gold, and not for the reasons you may think. We're not going to be tarnishing it. It is actually going to be part of the color scheme that we use. So make sure you join us then. We'll get some of the gold done. Hopefully we'll be able to work on some of the reds again. And then at least on Friday by the end of the stream, I want to be able to have base coated most of the other parts on his body, including things like feet and claws and leather banding and stuff. We don't have to worry so much about the bow and the arrow part as we do with just getting at least some base coats on everything, so that when we start up on next Tuesday and we start doing the feathers on the wings, that we are really kind of set with the base colors on the entire model. I'm super excited to see how this guy turns out for everybody, so we're going to have a lot of fun. So thank you for joining us again. I do stream tomorrow night, but it is a random kind of thing, anywhere from like 8 to 9 p.m. We call it late night. It's after dark with Fuse. And we'll usually play video games. I don't know what we'll be doing tomorrow. I have no idea. Thursdays are just kind of my relax and chat with my friends and not have to stress. Although I do have a lot of painting I need to do. So it might be just a casual painting Thursday too. We'll figure it out. Follow me on Facebook. Everything is Slow Fuse Gaming. All the social nonsense is all Slow Fuse Gaming. You'll find me there. Make sure to follow. I give you updates on new products at the store, stuff that we're doing on Twitch, stuff we're doing out in the real world, places you can hang with us and all that kind of good stuff. So we look forward to seeing you over there. But like I said, thank you guys so much for all the new follows, all the support, just hanging out with us and having a good time. We will see you again on Friday. Adios, my friends. Have a great one.